The following is a presentation of the Big Ten Conference.
Here he comes. Cooper DeJean cuts it back. He's got a chance. He scores. The top punt returner in the Big Ten just produced his top play.
The returner waved his left hand, which is an invalid fair catch signal.
Kinnick Stadium crowd stunned. Boy, what a turn of events.
Minnesota wins in Iowa City, first time since 1999.
Controversial finish at Kinnick Stadium last year leads to the 118th all-time meeting between these two, dating back to 1891. Minnesota actually leads the all-time series. Iowa had won 8 straight, 8 of the last 10 now. And Kirk Ferentz says he's put that one last year in the rearview mirror, aside from the fact that it took 5 minutes to review the play. But he's ready to play. He doesn't use this as a motivating factor. He says his guys are ready to go.
Absolutely. And, you know, they had a disappointing loss to Iowa State in week 2. They rebounded a week ago. Still a lot in front of them. And they know this rivalry, historically, low scoring, hard hitting, and very close.
Drew Stevens, the veteran, sends it away after Iowa won the toss, elected to defer. It'll be the star freshman Coy Parrish, the MVP of the All-American game, back to return it. And he will return it. 5 yards deep. Parrish, dangerous with the ball in his hands, and he stumbles across the 20. This one will start at the 21 for this Minnesota offense. And a look at the starting lineups delivered by Papa John's. It's all headlined by the transfer quarterback, the veteran, and Max Brosmer. But that running game is really where this bread is buttered.
Yeah, I mean, both these teams want to establish a run. It's a big physical offensive line. The best guy up there is the left tackle, Ursary. And then the tailback, Darius Taylor, is a home run hitting kind of back. Also very good catching it out of the backfield. PJ Fleck said Minnesota has been throwing to run more this year, setting up the run by throwing early. Wouldn't be surprised to see it here.
They've got veterans on the outside in Jackson and Spencer, and it is Brosmer on first down, fires incomplete in the direction of Lemecki Brockington. It'll be 2nd and 10. So Max Brosmer comes in after setting all types of records for New Hampshire. 4 years there, had a torn ACL a couple years ago, but he's just gotten stronger and stronger, and it's the mental game that really stands out.
Yeah, I mean, PJ Fleck described him this way to us, said he is an elite processor and has worked tirelessly, extra work, really bonded with his teammates, and the more he plays now at this level and in this system, the better he gets.
PJ Fleck said we see 2 or 3 running backs on the field at the same time. They'll swing it out to Marcus Major, the Oklahoma transfer, who brings it across the 25 with a gain of 5.
This Iowa defense, the only thing uncharacteristic about this defense this year, they've been consistent under Phil Parker, their defensive coordinator, for a lot of years, but they've given up more explosive pass plays this year early in the season than in other years past. But they make you earn everything, and they want to try to keep that offense in 3rd or 5+, and that's where they got him right now with 6 yards needed for the first down.
A look at Parker on the sideline in his 13th season as the defensive coordinator. It's 3rd and 5, empty for Brosmer.
Single high safety, kind of different look for Iowa.
Brosmer fires, delivers, Taylor a first down. That's where he's really improved as a pass catcher, both out of the backfield and splitting in the slot.
Beautiful concept. They put him out and then brought him in motion. He's going to come in here and he's going to be working on a linebacker. So he's working in man-to-man on Kyle Fisher, and that's a win. This is a guy who was a wide receiver in high school his first 2 years before converting to running back, and shows you that ability on that first 3rd down conversion.
That his high school coach said, you could go be a wide receiver in the MAC, or you could play running back anywhere you want. He goes, well, obviously I chose running back.
Yeah.
Major back in there. He's got the handoff on first down. Finds the hole, delivers a hit, and gains 2. Look at the starting lineups on the defensive side, delivered by Papa John's. It's a defensive unit, Todd, you mentioned, has given up a couple of explosive plays, but still giving up just 13.7 points per game.
They're rugged. They're great against the run. And they're old. They're a veteran group. I mean, in their starting 11, they have 4 graduate students, 4 seniors, and 3 juniors. They've only got 1 transfer that came in, and that was a couple years ago, Nick Jackson. Everybody else has been developed in this system and in this program by Phil Parker and the defensive staff.
It's a common theme with both of these teams. Major, one of the few transfers that's making a big impact on Minnesota. Swing it to the outside. It's caught by Gears, the tight end. And he just kind of stumbles forward for a yard.
The thing I like when I watch Iowa play defense, and everybody that plays them says the same thing. They're so sound. They're not complicated. They're going to make you earn it. They take the right angles, they're in the right spot, and they tackle well in the open field. And that time we saw Castro, who is one of the best players all around on this defense, make a nice play in the open field.
Kirk Ferentz mentioned with Sebastian Castro, there was just a moment it clicked and he started playing fast. He has not looked back since, and he has been a mainstay now, 24 career starts, including today. 3rd down and 5 for the second consecutive look. Major the back. Brosmer to throw, lofts it over the top, incomplete, out of bounds.
Really well played out there by Deshaun Lee, number 8. Wondered if he would be in the starting lineup or TJ Hall. But watch this matchup right here. He just does a great job of running him to the sideline. The receiver takes himself out of the play. Now the throw's outside for sure, but the corner does the right job of just kind of continuing to push him towards the sideline, which requires a perfect throw. 3rd down, the first time they got the conversion. 2nd time, Iowa gets off the field.
Iowa's defense has yet to give up a 10-plus play drive this season. That one went for 6 plays, and here's the 30-year-old Australian punter, Mark Crawford, to send it away to Caden Weegent. Weegent has been dangerous in the punt return game, replacing Cooper DeJean, and he spills out across the 25. Minnesota flips the field. So Iowa's offense comes onto the field for the first time. Look at their starting lineup delivered by Papa John's, and it's the return this season of Cade McNamara that's really the headline for new offensive coordinator Tim Lester.
Yeah, and Cade McNamara, look, he played a lot of ball at Michigan. He started off last year. He's basically been hurt 2 years, though, and so he's just now coming back and getting more and more comfortable. Did not play well against Iowa State. Played his best game probably as an Iowa Hawkeye a week ago against Troy. But this is a team that is going to run the football, and this offensive line right now, the best I've seen Iowa have in the last 3 or 4 years.
Caleb Johnson leading FBS in rushing through his first couple of games. Play action, bootleg, and on the run goes to Lachey, and a gain of 6.
And you mentioned getting Cade McNamara back and healthy, the guy who just caught the first pass. Luke Lachey, a guy they really missed last year too, missed most of the year with an ankle injury. He's still kind of getting himself back into game condition, but he is a big play tight end potential at a school that has had a bunch of those guys.
We could go down the long list, but they had Lachey, they had Eric All last year, who eventually went down with a season-ending injury. They thought they were set at the position, and Lachey back playing some good ball. Here is Johnson's first touch. He stood up at the line of scrimmage. Disappeared to the pile. Danny Strigo leading the way up front.
Yeah, a lot of maroon jerseys around the ball on that 2nd down play. This is a Minnesota defense flying around. New defensive coordinator Corey Heatherman playing with a lot of confidence. Back-to-back shutouts by this defense.
First time that Minnesota's done that since 1962. They have not allowed a passing touchdown so far in their first 3 games. And some miscommunication maybe here.
Down.
Timeout, Iowa. First charge timeout of the half. Media timeout.
And you wonder if there was anything with the helmet communication system that was a little off there, because they were in the huddle for a very long time.
Cade McNamara has mentioned there's been every now and then some technical difficulties with his helmet communication, and it's forced him, with his veteran presence, to somewhat take over in the huddle. At the same time, he did say this is the first time, even with his Michigan days going back, that he's playing in a full packed stadium here in Minnesota. He played here when it was COVID. Said a lot of the players on this team, some of them have never played in this stadium fully packed, and the fans have come out in full support.
Yeah, and look, this is a new system for him. He's had to learn 2 or 3 new systems in his career as a quarterback. Tim Lester comes in. He was a head coach at Western Michigan, but last year he was an offensive assistant with Green Bay with his good friend Matt LaFleur. And so this offense is similar in concept to what they do at Green Bay, and a lot of NFL teams do. The West Coast offense, it's built on the mid-zone run. That's the basic run scheme that they use. Try to get a lot of play action and bootlegs off of that. And a lot of those plays can be very wordy. You know, I mean, they're not easy plays to call. And Iowa smartly uses a timeout there before this critical 3rd down play.
McNamara told us that he's trying to use his veteran feel, because he's had to learn 3 different offenses, of understanding concepts and routes to help simplify it for the rest of his teammates. Let's see what he comes up with on 3rd and 4.
This has been the go-to guy so far, Jacob Gill, early in the season, the transfer from Northwestern.
Lachey, the motion man. McNamara to throw on third down. It is pipped up in the air and incomplete. The target was the freshman Reese Vanderzee, and a 3-and-out for this Iowa offense.
Yeah, this is a good throw and a catchable ball, but watch Strigow, number 92, come over and collision the receiver. This is a defensive end who's playing like a linebacker and gets there right as the ball gets here, but that's a catchable pass and would have been a first down for Iowa.
They've got a lot of praise for that freshman Vanderzee, but that is a big hit to take from Strigow, who's 6'5", 255. Now it's the freshman punter, Reese Dakin, sending it to the freshman returner, Coy Parrish. Calls for what is absolutely 100% a fair catch and makes it at the 15. A 52-yard boot from the 19-year-old. And our second look at the Minnesota offense in a scoreless opening quarter. Well, Todd mentioned that there are not a ton of transfers on this roster, but one of them makes the biggest impact. Nick Jackson alongside one of his best friends now in Jay Higgins. Jackson coming over from UVA, and just look at the numbers they produced last season next to each other. One was #1 in FBS, the other one was in the top 5 in the Big Ten. Overall career tackles,
Crazy.
Nick Jackson among active players is first. Jay Higgins with 242, an absolute monster. And the one thing Jay Higgins told us that Nick Jackson has really helped him with, his celebrations have taken a step up to the next level. Beautiful ball. Brosmer finds Jackson in stride for a nice gain.
Yeah, he threw this one right over Nick Jackson. Nick Jackson was the drop linebacker right here, and he's going to try to get under this throw, but this is beautiful touch by Brosmer off the play action fake, right over the linebacker's head to the slot receiver, Jackson, for the first down.
Jackson having another productive start to the season so far. Brosmer back to the air, looking for Taylor, and it's picked off by Higgins. Just threw it behind the running back, and the tackling machine has found himself a takeaway.
Well, I think the pressure from Deontay Craig on the outside right here is going to force Brosmer to kind of pull back on this throw. And the throw is behind the intended receiver, and Higgins is able to get there and get under it for the interception. Little pressure, he kind of short-armed it. Now, did the ball hit the ground as he was going to the ground? It's low, he's under it. The ball's moving right there, but it looks like he retains possession.
Never hit the ground.
Great work by Jay Higgins. And a timely little graphic we had on those guys.
Second interception on Brosmer on the season, and a nice run by Caleb Johnson on first down. Fourth interception of the season for this Iowa defense. They have been the best in college football, really under Phil Parker, in taking the football away, and Higgins providing yet another one.
Yeah, I mean, Phil Parker was a great defensive back himself at Michigan State. I mean, he's a big-time player, and he's a big-time DB coach and defensive coordinator, and taking the football away has been part of their trademark.
Now, can the Hawkeyes cash in? Minnesota has not allowed a point in the last 2 weeks. McNamara, first completion is a first down. He got it to Jacob Gill.
Yeah, really nice job that time by McNamara. Knew exactly where he wanted to go with the football. Good read, no bad feet, and that was the problem that he had against Iowa State. His feet were kind of skittish. That time, solid footwork, delivers a strike on time for the first down. Gill's a guy that came over from Northwestern, and the coaches said he was even better when he got here than we thought he was when we looked at him in the portal.
Toss it, Johnson, 2 touchdowns last week and a gain of 1 to set up 2nd and 9.
Now that is their bread and butter play right there. It's called the mid zone, and a lot of times they run it out of a toss to the back. They want the back to be north and south coming downhill, but that time Danny Strigow, the boundary defensive end, made a big time play in stopping that for a very short gain.
We've already seen Strigow put in a number of positions in the first half of this opening quarter.
He's a very versatile guy. He can drop in coverage, he can rush, he can play the run.
Corey Heatherman called him the Swiss Army knife of this defense. Johnson, nowhere to go, and yet he makes something out of nothing. Caleb Johnson, touchdown, 24 yards.
Well, coming into this game, 308 of his 479 yards have come after contact. This is not there. There's nothing here, but he just keeps stretching it and shows the patience. And watch the tackles he breaks when he gets to the edge. It's not there, it's not there. He bounced 1 tackle, 2 tackle, 3 tackles. He showed patience and strength and then the speed to get it to the corner.
By Iowa. That play is under further review.
A nice late block by Luke Lachey, but he just used a combination of power and speed on that run and turned what looked like maybe a short gain into a touchdown.
We're going to look to see if his foot maybe was out at the 1 yard line. That would be the only place that he potentially got close to that sideline. Otherwise, it looked clean all the way. But the one thing, you just said something that Kirk Ferentz basically told us. Here's the look. The left foot right there.
Yeah, looks like it's on the line, about the 1.5 yard line.
That's so close, though. It is so hard to tell on those.
Yeah.
And remember, the call on the field here was touchdown, so it's got to be clear enough to 1,000% overturn it.
Well, the white shoes might help him here, you know, with the white sideline, but I didn't see any sliver of green in between the shoe and the sideline. Tremendous effort, though. You know, this guy sat out the first half of the opening game. There's another replay. I don't know. That's going to be tough to overturn, I would think.
After further review, the runner's left foot was out of bounds. The ball will be placed at the 1 yard line. 1st and goal, Iowa.
So the official rule from our referee, Cole Kneppel. And the points wiped off the board. Iowa will have to find a way to finish the drive with 1st and goal.
Yeah, that would have been Caleb Johnson's 7th touchdown run of the year. Again, he sat out the first half of the first game against Illinois State for disciplinary reasons, but has been on a tear ever since.
So that's what Kirk Ferentz told us. We said, what's been the biggest difference with him? Because we know he was good. He's been with this program a couple years. He said, first of all, mentally he's grown up.
Yeah.
The game has slowed down, but he's grown up and he's just become a more overall player. The second thing is the combination of size and speed and the ability to do exactly what we just saw. Make something out of nothing, which he did a ton last week. Brendan Sullivan, backup quarterback. They've got packages for him. The transfer from Northwestern is in there. Johnson stays in there on 1st and goal. Gill, the motion man. Sullivan, handoff. Johnson has got it. Pays it off. Touchdown, Hawkeyes.
Again, zone at the goal line. Watch the right tackle when we show this. Jennings Dunker, number 67, just drives his man right down into the wash. And Johnson just cuts in right behind him. 67 drives his man all the way across the formation, and a stand-up touchdown for Caleb Johnson.
There is his official 7th rushing touchdown of the season. His 16th overall in his career. This is his 3rd season of college football. He's having a superb start to the year as Stevens adds the extra point.
He is having a superb season, and this offensive line, as I mentioned at the top, is playing as well as I've seen an Iowa offensive line playing the last couple years. Set up by the defense, and then the offense cashes in with the first touchdown of the game.
High school football season around the country, and last night Shakopee High School defeated Eden Prairie 28-7. Some sweet uniforms, by the way, as well. The black, I like that, and it comes with the victory. Round game strong, and that's what we've seen already in this battle for the Floyd of Rosedale Trophy, the 118th all-time meeting between these two. Stevens will send it away for Parrish, and Minnesota's offense will look to find a bit of a rhythm in this opening quarter. Not a simple task when you go against an Iowa defense that in the last decade plus under Phil Parker has been not only one of the most stout, but one of the most consistently excellent defenses in the country. And you look at that bottom note in particular, tied for 1st in all of the country in interceptions, got another one already in the 1st quarter.
Yeah, again, the only thing that has been uncharacteristic so far through 3 games for Phil Parker's defense is they've given up 3 pass plays of 60 yards or more, 2 touchdowns of over 60 yards a week ago to the same guy for Troy. And that just is, this defense is built to do 2 things: stop the run and not give up explosive plays.
Handoff on 1st down goes to Darius Taylor, and he'll gain 3 as we go to KT.
Yeah, guys, I spoke to Nick Jackson this week about Iowa's linebackers, known as the Erasers, as you saw Jay Higgins with that incredible play on the last drive. He told me they're an experienced veteran group that has the ability to execute mid-game adjustments, erase any progress made by the opposing team. He said, we dictate the tempo. We have the freedom to play run and play pass, and we think that we can control that. We take a lot of pride in our drops. We come out and attack every day and try to lead through that, guys.
Well, they are a connected unit. One thing Jay Higgins said about he and Nick Jackson, that linebacking room overall, is when the bullets fly on Saturday, we know that we have each other's backs. And that off-field connectivity produces some big-time results. Swing it for Marcus Major, makes a man miss, and tried to stay in bounds. Looked like he stepped out before he could get the first down. Yeah, he maybe only gains a yard after all the effort.
Well, nice job by Brosmer going to his dump-off, because it was good coverage downfield by Iowa. Again, they're going to try to force you to just kind of nickel and dime down the field. And their belief is if we keep doing this, sooner or later, the offense will either make a mistake or they'll get greedy and try to go for something, and we'll make a play. They do not typically give up a lot of big plays.
First time we're seeing Jordan Nubin, who had a productive year last year, 578 yards, 3 touchdowns. Younger brother of Tyler Nubin, the standout safety, second-round pick to the Giants. Power up the motion man on third down. It is incomplete. Brosmer put it a little bit in front of Elijah Spencer. He's looking for the flag, and he won't get it.
Yeah, they got him isolated, and Spencer's going to run a real good route. The tight end's going to drag coverage away. They're going to run off the other coverage, so it's one-on-one. There was a little bit of a grab there at the end of the route. Deshaun Lee got away with that, and the ball was a little bit out in front, too far for the receiver. They got the matchup they wanted, just weren't able to execute the play.
Brosmer, who is generally calm, cool, and collected, showing a bit more of the fire in this rivalry game as Crawford's second punt sent to Weegan. He'll call for the fair catch and bring it in just across the 35 at the 37. Iowa already up 7-0, looking for more midway through this opening quarter on Big Ten Saturday night. What a start to the season for Caleb Johnson. He was productive last year, but this is a whole new level. 66 carries, the 509 yards, already up to 7 touchdowns. And his first touchdown today is the first points that Minnesota has allowed in 129 minutes and 41 seconds of game time. The last time they allowed a point, week 1 against UNC.
Well, and it goes back to turnovers. Both these coaches talked about how important the ball is. You can't turn it over against either one of those teams, particularly in your own territory, and give the offense a short field.
It is Johnson on first down, trying to weave his way through, gets upended. That's a big hit after a gain of a yard. Devin Williams came in and delivered.
Yeah, this is big boy football. This is a linebacker filling his gap and meeting the back, a big back right in the hole, and not backing away. Got a little help underneath also, but that's a big-time play by Devin Williams, number 9.
Williams, good size, fluid movement, excellent in coverage at his linebacking position, a redshirt junior, one of the many players on this Minnesota defense that got great reps a year ago to help give them comfortability this year. Another nice play on Johnson. Jack Henderson comes from the backfield and dumps him down at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, Jack Henderson is their leading tackler a year ago. He transferred from Southeast Louisiana, and familiar with that school in Hammond, Louisiana. And he has had a great year this year, and they do a lot of things with him. He rushes the quarterback, he can cover in man coverage, and he's good against the run. And that time he made a nice sure tackle on a big back coming out of the backfield. 3rd and long now for the Hawkeyes.
Jazian Patterson, who Kirk Ferentz said has been running it better than he's ever seen him, is in there on 3rd and 8.
Looks like man with a free safety here.
McNamara slings over the middle, incomplete, in the direction of Caleb Brown, and a 3-and-out forced by this Gopher defense.
Yeah, Giante McMillan, number 24, is the guy they tried to go after right here in the slot. Pretty good coverage, but there is separation and just a ball that sailed on Cade McNamara there to force a punt.
Kerry Brown was deep back there already with 2 interceptions on the season, both coming last week. The Big Ten Freshman of the Week had a chance at a pick, but Corey Heatherman's defense holds strong. And now the second punt for Reese Dakin, the 19-year-old Australian. Parrish doesn't want anybody to touch it, bounces up, and a nice Iowa bounce before it sails out of bounds just shy of the 15. A 46-yard punt after he went 52 on his first.
I think Minnesota's got to try to find a way to get their running game going a little bit here. You know, they've led 9 offensive plays so far, 11 offensive plays. 9 of them have been passes, only 2 runs so far. And that's not the kind of balance they need. I understood them kind of throwing early to help set up their run, but now they've got to try to find a way to to create some running creases against this Hawkeye defense.
And again, we see the two running backs in there, Darius Taylor and Marcus Major. It's Major in the backfield, and they will throw again. Rosemer pumps, Rosemer tucks, looking to get to the outside, and just gets back to the line of scrimmage. Good pursuit by this Iowa defense and Jeremiah Pittman.
Yeah, he looked right first. It was good protection. He was able to work all the way across the field. I thought he was going to throw it to Elijah Spencer, number 11, who was open on the sideline. Didn't like what he saw and decided to run and get a couple yards anyway. Got to get Darius Taylor involved running the football. This is a much better team when he's on the field and when he's active in the offense. Big time running back.
About a 60-yard difference in average ground yards, and that's why he can lower the shoulder and get an extra one after the contact. Picks up 5 as he collides with Lee. You see the with and without, the on-off field. Look at the difference, 181 to 124 rushing yards per game, and the record speaks for itself.
Yeah, and he's a tough guy. He's not overly big, but he was a wrestler in high school. Good physical player and can run behind his pads, and that's what he's doing a little bit better this year than even he did as a freshman.
3rd down and 4. Minnesota 1 for 3 on 3rd down. Rosemer delivers, put it in the tight window. It's caught. Daniel Jackson. They didn't rule him down initially, and then he's dragged forward by Schulte as Fisher had the first chance.
See, these are the kind of plays that you have to make if you're a quarterback. Tight coverage, and he puts the ball in the perfect spot. Iowa on 3rd down has been playing man-free every time. This is a team that primarily plays zone defense, but in this game so far have opted to play man with a free safety, and that time Minnesota was able to take advantage of it with the matchup.
Heads up play by Daniel Jackson as he recognized that he was on top of Fisher with that catch, regardless of what happens here. If they bring it back a couple yards, he just reached 2,000 career receiving yards.
They love him here. When I talked to offensive coordinator Greg Harbaugh, he said, you know, he's watched him develop over his career as we watch the end of this play.
Yeah, well,
previous play is under further review as to whether the runner was down.
Yeah, I think he's down right
Well,
there.
let's hear from Terry McCauley. Terry, do you see any body part here that would justify that he's down a couple yards ahead of time?
Yeah, no, it looks like his lower leg and knee clearly go down. He would be down, you know, again, it's about 2 yards. Generally, that's not enough for a competitive disadvantage, but apparently the Big Ten Command Center felt it was in this case.
Fair enough. Seems pretty cut and dry, but either way, it will be enough for a first down. It'll move the sticks with just over 3 minutes remaining in the first, and a big conversion again. Now, 204 on 3rd down. This is an Iowa defense that is generally stout, and getting off the field is what they do very well.
At the 29-yard line. Result of the play is 1st and 10, Minnesota.
Again, just going back to Daniel Jackson, the thing the coaches love about him is he's a blue-collar, hard-working dude. He blocks on running plays. He's physical after the catch. He's good yards after the catch, and he's dependable. I mean, he has just gotten better and better over the course of a long career here, now in his 5th year out of Kansas City, Kansas. Bishop Miege High School.
Led the team in receiving yards and touchdowns a year ago. Quick feet, versatile skill set. Keeps the drive alive for the Gophers. Major the back, Major the pitch. To the outside, Major's got a hole. Major, big gain, 16 yards on the 1st down carry as Wampa ushers him out of bounds.
Well, we talked about Daniel Jackson being tough and blue collar. Watch him come in here and block a defensive end so the tackle, Ursery, can get out in front of the play. He blocks a defensive end. Ursery gets out on Nick Jackson. And the other wide receiver, other tight end, I should say, Frank Bierman, number 85, gets a big block on the perimeter. That's good execution. And if you want to get big runs like that, your wide receivers and backs have to block for each other.
That's the longest rush that this Iowa defense has allowed all season. The longest before that was a QB scramble of 11. And Roseman will just throw this one away and live to fight again on 2nd and 10.
Yeah, good decision. You run the ball with some success. Now you want to try to go play action. Might have had a shot at Daniel Jackson hooking up in the middle of the field. But you don't want to force something. You've already got the 1 turnover. Live to play 2nd and 10. Greg Harbaugh, the second year as a coordinator, he talked about how much challenge and how exciting it was to try to game plan and call plays against this Iowa defense.
And it certainly helps when you can hand it off to a guy like Taylor, who fights forward for 2 yards, collides with Nick Jackson. It is Harbaugh, just to be clear. Everyone sees the name. They say Harbaugh. Remember last year we were here when Michigan was here, and he goes, whoever wins this game, I guess, can make the decision. But I think he's sticking with Harbaugh.
Yeah, I think so, too. And he's a good football coach. He was here originally as a GA when Kirk Shiraka was the offensive coordinator. And that's where, when he watched Kirk, how excited he got when it was time to match wits against Phil Parker and game plan against this Iowa defense. And he's kind of picked up that same intensity and excitement about this game.
Split Taylor out wide, and a jump defensively from Brian Allen. We'll see which way moved first.
False start.
Yeah,
Offense,
left guard.
number 75. 5-yard penalty, 3rd down.
Now, this is an Iowa team that has the fewest penalties in college football. They had no penalties a week ago in their win. And Brian Allen just reacting to the movement by the left guard, Tyler Cooper, number 75, and now a 3rd down and very difficult situation against this defense. This is not a blitzing defense. They want to try to get steady pressure with 4 and play coverage behind it. Force you to throw underneath and then make a sure tackle.
Taylor in the slot, but Jackson on the other side on 3rd and 13. Rosemer looking to get away, just lofts it out of bounds.
Nice little stunt on the left side. Watch, you're going to see these guys come up, and Herkett, number 49, is going to come inside. Nice little stunt, and he gets free to the quarterback. Actually, Deontay Craig is in there as well. And Brosmer has to get rid of the football.
A couple of smart decisions by Brosmer. Allow for Crawford to try to flip the field and pin this Iowa offense deep on a line drive kick. Legion lets it bounce. What a bounce it was. They will call this down at the 2. The special teams play. Coy Parrish gets down the field, and the All-American pinning the Hawkeye offense. Look as he just stays just enough out. Minnesota special teams getting it done. Big Ten Saturday Night is brought to you by Downy Rinse and Refresh. Fight odor in just one wash. And by Genesis Motor America. Learn more at genesis.com. The Battle of the Floyd of Rosedale Trophy, the original trophy, was a live hog for the 1935 game. Governor of Minnesota, Floyd B. Olson, bet the governor of Iowa, Clyde L. Herring. A Minnesota prize hog against the Iowa prize hog that Minnesota would win. And now you've got the 98-pound statue that goes back and forth, the trophy between the two. Patterson, the running back, on 1st down from the 2, and he'll provide a little bit of breathing room to the 5. So the hustle play from Parrish was outstanding.
Yeah, and it was the right call. And again, the difference between college football and pro football, it doesn't matter where Parrish's feet are. As long as the ball does not cross the plane of the goal line, he can knock that thing back out. So it was well done by him for a freshman, and tough field position to start here for the Iowa Hawkeyes.
That was what P.J. Fleck told us, that we want him on the field more because good things always seem to happen whenever he's near the ball.
And they made him a game captain for this particular game.
Patterson stays in there. Patterson finds a big hole, tripped up in the secondary. Shoestring tackle by Jayante McMillan.
Well, here's this zone concept. Watch these guys get on their track, and the running back coming downhill. They get the ball to him deep, and then he can cut in there anywhere. But watching this, watching this offensive line come off the ball in unison, they're like a dance team to me. It's well choreographed, and the running backs are doing a great job running behind it.
Well, there's one of the best dance teams in the country here in Minneapolis, and they're putting them a little bit of a show so far here at Huntington Bank Stadium. It's Iowa 7, Minnesota 0 after 1 on Big Ten Saturday Night. Aerial coverage is brought to you by Ford. Beautiful sunset in Minneapolis. First quarter in the book, 7-0 Iowa. We welcome you to the broadcast booth. No Eagle Top Blackledge, Catherine Tappan. I feel like that's exactly what we expect to see with these two teams.
Yeah, two very rugged defenses, two teams that want to establish a run. Iowa having a little more success with that with 47 yards in the first quarter. And the one turnover is the difference in the game. That's why Iowa has the 7-0 lead. They had the short field. They capitalized, and it's going to be a tough football game that will go down to the fourth quarter.
These are two coaches that have talked a lot about the culture that they instill, and it almost feels like P.J. Fleck has modeled a lot of what he does after Kirk Ferentz. We're seeing that again in this first quarter.
Yeah, I think there's mutual respect, right? There are two programs that are in markets where they have to recruit certain kind of guys. They have to trust development process. They're not as big on the transfer portal as other teams are, although they will use it to fill needs, but they believe more in development and bringing guys in that fit their culture, and I think in that way they're very, very similar.
Kirk Ferentz actually put it beautifully. He said, it's like the NFL. You'd rather draft your team than have to go to free agency and pay too much to fill all your needs. Fill in the voids from there. 1st and 10 after the big run from Patterson to end the first quarter. Johnson back in there, misdirection on the pitch, and Johnson picks up 6.
You know, one of the other little nuances about this Iowa offense this year that's different under Tim Lester, and again, you see this with that Shanahan tree type of offense in the NFL or in college. There's a lot more pre-snap motions, shifts, trades. It changes strength. It changes support for the back end of the defense. It's subtle a lot of times, but it causes some confusion. And this year, a much higher rate than it was a year ago. And I think it's effective. It really makes a defense think, particularly in the back end.
Those numbers courtesy of PFF. McNamara, Wally was hit, and he got it away to Lachey. It'll set up 3rd and 1.
Really good decision that time by Cade McNamara. He was looking left. He didn't like what he saw. He was able to work back to the other side. Watch him. He's looking left first. It's not there. He comes back across the formation to his dump down to make it 3rd and manageable.
Hand off, Johnson through the contact for the first down. There's the physical running ability again. 6 foot 225 from Caleb Johnson.
I mean, this is a big hit he takes in the hole and still able to fall forward. That was impressive. Darius Green, number 12, came up and met him in the hole pretty hard. But you see the strength and the power, and that's the difference in him. And early in his career, he was trying to just outrun people and use that speed. Now he knows how to run behind his pads more and get those tough yardage runs. That was a big-time run, even though it was only a couple yards.
Johnson said the change in his mentality, he wants to punish guys when they meet him in the hole, make them forget why they would want to do that as we go to KT.
Yeah, he also told me this week that he wants to follow in the footsteps of his running back coach, former NFLer Liddell Betts. He said, I'm developing and I'm figuring it out, and it's coming into place. Everything they're telling me I'm getting correct, like being physical, pass blocking, hard, and just being a playmaker. He practiced toughness in the offseason, guys. He told me my trainer was throwing balls at my legs, putting pillows on his arms to drive at his legs, all to improve his balance on his runs.
Yeah, Liddell Betts, an outstanding career at Iowa from 98 to 2001, second all-time in school history in rushing yards. Then an NFL career from 02 to 10 with Washington and New Orleans, 111 games. So a good guy to listen to as Patterson's tripped up. There is a beautiful read defensively by Minnesota and Lucas Finnessy.
He came so quickly off the edge. He was unblocked, but he took the right angle to the back. He was out wide. All right, look, he's way out here wide, and he takes the right angle into the backfield. They turn him loose, and he makes the play.
Sets up 3rd down and 8. Iowa 1 for 3 on 3rd down to start this game, but this one a bit longer.
Minnesota showing some pressure here. Press coverage on the outside.
McNamara lofts, batted down at the line. Jalen Logan Redding got his big paw up and forces a punt.
Yeah, good pressure on the stunt. And then Redding gets the deflection. Watch the stunt on the inside. And Redding, number 97, is going to get a hand on the football, but they collapse the pocket and then able to get off the field on 3rd down.
This is a massive defensive front for Minnesota. Logan Redding, 6'4", Joyner, 6'5", Eastern, 6'6", Strigo, 6'5", throwing over the top.
Please reset the game to 12:02.
It's a big stop right there by the Minnesota defense. You know, a chance to kind of flip the field after they had them pinned back. They weren't able to keep them all the way down there. Now they got a chance to get better field position to start an offensive drive. And again, against both of these defenses, you need to get some short field advantages. And that's where the kicking game, there's so much hidden yardage in the kicking game in a game like this.
Third punt for Dakin.
Huge kick.
Parrish brings it in on the fair catch of the 15. And this is the replacement for the all-world Tory Taylor. Another Australian through pro kick, 55 yards, and flips the field right back. Style points.
No.
Win counts as a win. Top 10 team stays unbeaten.
Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, right?
No doubt. And for both of these schools, they have their one loss on the wrong end of kicks. For Minnesota, it was a miss week 1. For Iowa, on the other side, Iowa State made one week 2. First 4 possessions for this Minnesota offense have not gone according to a plan. 3 punts and 1 interception that led to the touchdown.
Yeah, and I think they've got to get a couple guys more involved. Elijah Spencer, number 11. They need to get him involved. Daniel Jackson has a couple catches, and then Darius Taylor, either handing it to him in the backfield or throwing it to him out of the backfield. Too big a piece in this offense to not have more involvement.
Pitch it to him here. Taylor looking to the edge, slips through for 2, but a nice tackle. Jamari Harris coming from the cornerback spot to wrap him up.
You can't hesitate again against this defense. They flow well, they tackle well. They're fundamentally sound. You can't dance, you can't hesitate. You got to find a crease if you can see one and hit it with some speed.
And we mentioned the field position. That has been a clear difference. Minnesota started their drives from their own 18 on average. This one a 3rd and 4, just barely across the 20. And they're going to have to call a timeout. Just 2.
Timeout, Minnesota. First charge of the half. 30 seconds.
Too much lack of organization as they got set for an important 3rd down a couple minutes into the second quarter.
And the Gophers are 2 for 5 on 3rd down. They haven't had a lot of long yardage situations. They've been in fairly manageable 3rd down situations. And Iowa, again, typically a team that plays a lot more zone coverage than man coverage, has opted to play more man with a free safety on 3rd down in the game. And it's given them a little bit of an edge on 3rd down.
You know, Todd, Max Brosmer said to us yesterday that there is a clear adjustment period going FCS to FBS, but he feels like he's gotten past that first hurdle. At the same time, this is his first Big Ten game, and it's against this Iowa defense. That's no easy task.
Yeah, I mean, he never saw anything like this defense when he played, and he played well at the University of New Hampshire, but he didn't see anything like that, even in his rivalry game against Maine. This is a whole different animal here.
Put gears in motion, Major in the backfield on 3rd and 4. Brosmer surveys, delivers, incomplete, knocked away by Harris.
A tight coverage again on 3rd down. Harris, number 27, is working on the tight end. Looked like he had his hand on his back, but he was able to come over the top and make a play on the football with his right hand. Left hand was wrapped around the tight end, but he made a nice play on the football to knock it away.
So the 3-and-out forced once again by the Hawkeye defense. Mark Crawford turns 31 years old in December. Will punt it away. Weegan back, has it, looking to return it. Weegan, dangerous. Weegan to midfield, but a flag down at the 40. Could be bringing this back.
You know, Iowa gave up a 77-yard punt return last week against Troy. It was kind of a bad play on the special teams, but Weegan has been a really nice surprise taking over for Cooper DeJean as a return man. But this one is going to come back.
Weegan mentioned Tyreek Hill as a guy he tries to model after. He is a speedster as a walk-on.
During the kick, holding, number 2 of the receiving team. 10-yard penalty in the end of the kick. 1st and 10.
TJ Hall called for the hold. So it wipes out what was a 15-yard return on a 54-yard punt. Iowa will have a longer field to go with. You see the rushing numbers. The interesting thing with this matchup is the rushing numbers last year weren't all that gaudy, with two teams that did have a lot of firepower. And Darius Taylor, he did miss most of the season. If you look at the overall number of games, played about half the season last year, but he played that game against Iowa. That's one of the 2 losses they have with Taylor in the lineup.
Well, again, you've got to establish some rhythm running the football to set up your play action pass where you can try to get some chunk plays, because you have to have balance. You have to have both. But run sets up play action.
Johnson emerges for 2.
I really like the way this Minnesota defense has played this year. You know, this is a team that had a lot of injuries a year ago. They were forced to play a lot of new guys, young freshman guys that made mistakes on the road, you know, as they were growing up. They bring in a new defensive coordinator in Heatherman. And it's the same structure, the same style of defense. It kind of all came from Greg Schiano, the head coach at Rutgers when he was at Tampa Bay. But Heatherman able to add a little bit of his own personality and fingerprint to it.
McNamara beams and incomplete for Washington. The former running back turned wide receiver makes it 3rd and 8.
And I think this is a little bit of his personality. I think it's a little bit more pressure. That was Coleman Bryson, number 16, a backup safety, who came free on a safety blitz and forced the errant throw by McNamara, bringing up 3rd down and long.
Johnson in there on 3rd down and 8. Low snap.
Another pressure.
McNamara tries to get away. He won't. Cody Lindenberg missed 9 games last year. His impact is beyond words. Shows it off and forces a punt.
Well, watch what Lindenberg does. He's going to come in here and hit the lineman. He's not even trying to rush himself. He's trying to open things up for the other guy. I'm sorry, he was on the other side, but he ends up getting to the quarterback. He came in and tried to cause a collision, and he still ended up getting to the quarterback first and knocking him to the ground. He's a fun guy to talk to yesterday, wasn't he?
So much energy, and mentioned that being off the field, it forced him to learn the entire defense, which has helped him within his one position to know where everybody else is supposed to be. Fair catch made, and some contact after the fact. Looked like it was friendly fire, as this drive will start from the 36. A 50-yard punt from Dakin. 7-0 midway through the second. Look here at the United Cam. Beautiful backdrop here at Huntington Bank Stadium, and both defenses finding a rhythm in this first half.
Yeah, I want to go back to that pressure. Watch the job by Lindenberg. He's going to hit the tackle, Dunker, to allow 2 guys to rush in that gap. But he shows his athleticism by staying with it, keeping his balance, and still getting a hand to trip up the quarterback. He did his job to open up the lane for a teammate and still ended up getting the sack.
Told us that he had a chance to talk to his hero, Luke Kuechly, this offseason and just learn how he studied film, which days he focused on what, how he took care of his body. That looked like a Kuechly-level play right there. Rosemer right on time, on target. Jackson on the sideline, across midfield into Iowa territory.
Yeah, good decision to try to throw this on 1st down. It's zone coverage, so the corner is giving space, giving room, and it's good timing by Rosemer off the play action. And one thing that Phil Parker said about Rosemer, he says this guy has been a good fit, and he really uses his eyes well. He sees the field, and he's able to move through his progressions. Excellent at processing coverages.
See which direction it goes. Todd mentioned it, 0 penalties for Iowa last week, least penalized team in the country.
Well, Iowa's pointing at the center, that's where the movement was, that's what drove the defender off. Greg Johnson.
Offense number 65.
Yep.
5-yard penalty, still 1st down.
He's the new center. This is an experienced offensive line, very big offensive line, but he got a little jumpy up there on that one and caused the reaction by the defense.
PJ Fleck clearly disagrees with the call.
Terry, what did you see on that replay?
The center clearly flinches before the defender moves. This is a false start on the center, correctly called.
So it makes it 1st down and 15. Daniel Jackson, the most consistent weapon so far, 3 catches, for 43 yards. Brosmer back to the air and back to who else?
Yeah.
Jackson.
And you know what? P.J. Fleck on that play, I mean, he's a pretty much of a thinker, you know, I mean, a strategist. He may have known it was a penalty, but just wanted to get in the ref's ear and say, hey, look, this team didn't even get a penalty called on them last week. Make sure you keep it fair out here, right? Make sure you see them both ways. Both of these teams pride themselves on not being heavily penalized. That's part of their formula for success.
P.J. Fleck will tell you he has to overachieve to get to the top half of the Big Ten, especially the expanded Big Ten. 2nd down and 6. Brosmer, a little bit of a rhythm. And he goes right back to Jackson. They have no answer for him on the last 3 plays, a 1st down.
Well, I just talked about Brosmer's ability to process quickly and move through progression. This is beautiful. I mean, he is looking to throw quick in the flat. It's not there, comes back to the cross and hits his favorite target, Jackson. But he worked through the progression. Watch, eyes are out right. It's not there. Pump, find the secondary receiver, and move the chains.
Jackson, you see the 5 catches for 59 yards. The rest of the Minnesota offense, 4 catches, 47 yards. Brosmer's hit 4 different receivers.
Now, Elijah Spencer is another weapon in this offense.
This time it's Major. And not a whole lot there as he's flying towards the line of scrimmage. Deshaun Lee goes down low.
Again, one of the trademarks of this Iowa defense, they just do not miss many tackles. You know, and no teams practice tackling a lot during the season or even during training camp because you don't want to lose players, but they do enough fundamental work on tackling, and it's part of their culture and part of the way they play defense. Their whole mindset is we're going to force underneath throws, we're going to play zone, we're going to make you earn it, and we have to be good tacklers in space, and they are year in and year out.
Play for Phil Parker, you better tackle. Brosmer, Major, hit immediately by Higgins. Another 3rd down opportunity. Now you're knocking on the door of field goal range, and we know in these matchups, every point matters.
Yeah, 7 of the last 9 matchups between these two teams have been a 1-possession game. 12-10 last year, I think 13-10 the year before, right? So every point matters.
3rd down and 5. Dragan Kesic has hit from 50+ already a couple of times this season.
And free again, 1 single safety. Not the way Iowa typically plays.
Major in motion. Back to the air on 3rd down. Lofted. Sideline. Spencer.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't Spencer. It was Brockington. It looked like he bobbled, and he went out of bounds. They're going to call it a catch of a gain of 28 yards.
Well,
Terry, what do you see?
All right, let's take a look at it. It's control. Boy, this is really tight.
he drugged the right foot, but the left foot landed out of bounds. It's just a matter of when he had control, right?
Exactly, Todd. Is that back foot still on the ground when he gains control? That's what they're going to look at.
Well, Minnesota trying to get it off quick, and they will not. They're going to have to take a look at this. A huge play in this game gives Minnesota an instant opportunity to match this game up. Kirk Ferentz making sure that the officials are on top of it.
Well, Brockington is typically a run blocker.
Prior
only
to the
4
Iowa
catches coming into the game. He had separation. Does he have control of the football?
We'll find out when we come back from Minneapolis. Catch stands. Terry McCauley, walk us through it.
Yeah, no, we clearly see on this angle, he pins the ball to his shoulder. That's control. The foot's down. Now, eventually, after a couple more steps, the ball does move, but he's already completed the process. This is a catch correctly confirmed.
Well, great throw and great effort by Brockington at the end of the play. And best field position of the night now for the Minnesota offense.
Darius Taylor, play action. Brosmer, end zone. Touchdown! Jamison Gears squeezes it.
Two consecutive throws by Brosmer that you can't do any better against tight coverage. They go play action on first down. He's not open. Castro's on him, but the ball is thrown perfectly, and Castro has his back to the quarterback and doesn't know the ball's in the air. He's trying to play the receiver, doesn't know where the ball is, and Brosmer puts it in a perfect spot for his tight end.
We are all tied. Kesich with the extra point. Brosmer 7 for 7, 69 yards on the drive. A 7-play drive goes down the field with the penalty in 4.5 minutes, and we are all even as we get towards this halftime break.
Well, they're only 3 for 7 on third down, but that third conversion there was huge. It was 3rd and 4, and again, it's man-free safety. They're normally 2 safety. He sees a matchup he likes, but this safety has to come too far to try to help over the top. Brockington is going to get separation from Deshaun Lee. Brosmer puts the ball to the outside, and you can see Schulte, number 30, has no chance of coming over the top. And then the touchdown on first down, another perfectly placed football by Max Brosmer. He reads it, he sees it, and he delivers an accurate football 2 plays in a row. And we got a tie football game.
DJ Fleck loves it. He loves this kid at quarterback. And let's go back to what we said before, that it took a little bit of an adjustment period to get from FCS to FBS. It almost felt like we've seen that in this first half, where it's been an adjustment period with this Big Ten Iowa defense. And boy, he's looked really comfortable in the last couple of drives here.
He was uncomfortable the first quarter against North Carolina in the opener, and then 11 clean quarters after that, according to Coach Harbaugh. And a little slower start tonight, but he's in rhythm right now.
So now 4:20. Remember, Iowa won the toss, elected to defer, so they'll get it to start the second half. But the way this Minnesota defense has played outside of the one drive off of the interception, it's been tough for Iowa to find anything easy offensively themselves.
Well, again, we talked about this Iowa defense giving up some long pass plays early in the season. That was another one on third down. A critical play. Minnesota able to capitalize now.
Drive starts from the 25. Caleb Johnson, 43 yards in the touchdown. But it's McNamara through the air. Get it to the outside. Bobble nearly picked. Zaquan Bryant came in on Terrell Washington Jr. and nearly had an easy walk-in.
Well, this is another ball that should have been caught. It's a good throw by Cade. It hits the receiver in the hands. That's got to be caught. And when he tipped it with his right hand, he's lucky it didn't get intercepted. And if it would have gotten picked, it would have been a touchdown for the Gophers. But that is a ball that needs to be caught for Iowa.
Well, the Hawkeyes go back to the ground. Lachey in motion. It is a throw. McNamara sets up the screen. Johnson nowhere to go. Wrapped up immediately by Maverick Baranowski.
Well, screen passes work better typically against zone, but this is man-to-man, so watch. When they try to set up the screen, he's got his eyes right on Johnson and is able to get there and make the play. That was Finnessy who was there first, and then Baranowski finished him off. The screen did not work against man coverage.
Third and 11. Deep drop McNamara. Dump it off. Ostrenga upended. Kerry Brown forces back-to-back 3-and-outs for the Hawkeye offense.
Well, there was pressure, and Cade McNamara had to get rid of the ball before he wanted to. Watch the pocket collapse. If he could have held it a little longer and seen downfield, 2 defenders for Minnesota collided, and there were open receivers deep down the field. But no way did Cade McNamara have enough time to let that develop. Minnesota very aggressive here in the second quarter, rushing the passer and playing man.
Boy Parrish will bring it in on the fair catch at the 31. 2:45 to play in this first half. Minnesota has the 2-minute timeout and 2 of their own down the stretch. And remember, Iowa will get the football to start the third quarter after the 45-yard punt.
Well, we've seen Max Brosmer develop a rhythm in this game against a rugged defense. We have not seen Cade McNamara really get into a rhythm yet throwing against this Minnesota defense. Part of that is there's been some drop balls.
drive is going to start just about in the same spot as the last one. This is something that Cade McNamara talked about, the open communication line between him and the coaching staff. Generally puts on the headset after drives and talks with Tim Lester, giving his own opinions. Taylor and Major both in on first down. Taylor in motion, swing it to the outside for Jackson, spins away from one and gets 5 yards.
You see the physicality of Jackson. Again, I think that's what the coaches love about him. He's not a guy that's going to run by you or blow by you with blazing speed, but he's very good after the catch because of his strength and toughness.
Don't have to snap it here. 2-minute timeout looming to 2nd and 4. 8 straight completions now for that man, Max Brosmer. Someone who plays chess off the field to keep himself sharp, keep himself in the mindset of thinking 1 or 2 moves ahead of your opponent. And on the football field, it transfers to thinking 1 or 2 moves ahead of the defensive coordinator and the opposing players. Minnesota's defense locking in. Iowa's defense helps their offense score, but we're all even with 2 minutes remaining in this opening half on Big Ten Saturday night. Well, Minnesota is finding a rhythm at this point against this Iowa defense. First 5 drives, they've went 80 yards. In the last 8 plays have gone 70 yards on the score.
And I think that's why maybe you're aggressive here if you're Minnesota, because your quarterback has found a groove against this Iowa defense. 2 minutes and 2 timeouts here before halftime.
2nd down and 4. They will go back to the air. Brosmer lost it. Sideline open. Caught. Jackson having himself a first half out of bounds.
Well, this time Iowa back to their 2 deep safety, and he drops the ball right between the corner and Schulte coming over from the safety. Just another perfect placed football by Max Brosmer. This guy started out the game 6 for 13 and has now hit 9 of his last 9.
Schulte delivered the hit as Jackson was going out of bounds there. No flag comes in as they move through inside the 35. They clock down to 5. Brosmer. Beams. Caught on the run. Gears.
I just like what he is doing with his eyes, Noah. I mean, the guy is processing things so quickly. Iowa showed blitz on that play. Then they backed out. He came out looking like he had to throw it quick against pressure, realized the pressure dropped, and came to the other side of the field for a completion. Really well done.
Minnesota still with the 2 timeouts, quickly moving this down the field, knocking on the door of the red zone. Brosmer fires, looking end zone, knocked away. Beautifully done by Harris, stride for stride.
Again, I think Harris has his right arm on the receiver. It's a good read by Brosmer. They get the post. He knocks the ball away with his left hand, but the right hand is on the back. But he's going to the ball. And it's kind of one continuous motion and another big-time knock away by their best cover corner, Jamari Harris.
Minnesota, 2nd charge of the half, 30 seconds.
I mean, you love the fact that the rivalry produces so much, but to see it live in the crowd is awesome. Brosmer really finding himself.
Yeah, he's really playing well here now in the 2nd quarter. It started out a little rough. He short-armed one, he threw the interception, led to a touchdown, but now he's in a rhythm, and his eyes are working. And when you're comfortable, your eyes see a whole lot more of the field than when you're not. And that last touchdown throw he made, just perfectly placed football. And this is a guy playing with a lot of confidence right now and a lot of poise against Iowa. You know, I loved when he talked to us about the chess and how much he loved it. You hit a couple points, and I loved he said, chess teaches you about threats and attack. And that's the same thing in football. You have to assess the threats. Where is the defense going to create stress or pressure, and where can I attack? And right now, he's moving the pieces on the board pretty well.
Wears a wristband that says threats and attack to remind him. Coming up on the Xfinity halftime report, Michigan, a statement win, welcoming USC to the Big Ten. Miami facing a test from South Florida, and Arch Manning making his first start for Texas. Maria, Joshua, Chris, and Nicole will have all of that. Here's a 3rd down and 6 and a big one. Iowa will have the football to start the 2nd half. Handoff, Taylor Taylor, shimmy shake, Taylor to the outside and into the red zone, first down.
A really nice call by Coach Harbaugh. They kind of crossed him up. Watch how the ends get upfield. And Darius Taylor's going to cut right inside of it. Nice block by the right tackle. Quinn Carroll. I think Iowa thinking pass all the way there on third down, and the run crossed him up. And Darius Taylor with his best run of the day.
In the last two drives, it had been 12, make it 11 straight passes. That's the first run in the last two drives. It goes for 17 yards.
It comes on third down. A great call on third down.
Here's the motion man.
Throw it away.
Brosmer does exactly that.
Man coverage, good tight coverage by Iowa with their backs against the goal line here. Phil Parker knows how critical this defensive possession is. If they can hold them to a field goal attempt, that will feel like a win for Iowa. They've given up some plays. They've given up some chunk plays. 154 yards passing for Max Brosmer here in the first half. But they got a chance to try to get a stop and get to the locker room, only down 10-7 at the worst.
Handoff Taylor, jump cut, and keeps the legs churning for two. Nick Jackson was the first one there.
That was second down. It didn't really fool the Iowa defense. Nick Jackson with his eyes right in the backfield, right on top of that play. On second down, made a sure tackle.
Doesn't look like Iowa is going to take the timeout, at least not yet.
No, they're not going to take a timeout for their offense. They want this clock to go down. They want to get a hold and a stop right here and get to the locker room and figure out what they want to do with the football to start the third quarter.
Play clock down to 8. Brosmer quickly to the outside. It's Spencer. Spencer over the top. Spencer still on his feet. Touchdown. More Brosmer brilliance down the field, and Spencer gets special to finish it off.
Another great call on third down by Greg Harbaugh. And what blocking by Jamison Gears, number 86, and Lemecki Brockington, number 0, on the wide receiver screen. Watch when this ball is thrown out to Spencer. Watch the blocks on the outside. 86 and 0 both pancake their guys, and then Spencer takes it into the end zone. His first catch of the game, and it couldn't have come at a better time.
Kesich makes it 14-7. Spencer's first touchdown of the season, 19th of his career, 5th of the year for Brosmer, and continues to just churn out yards and bring them right down the field.
Watch these blocks. Again, another great call on third down. The last third down, they crossed him up with the running play. This time, the quick screen. And then beautiful blocking on the perimeter. And Spencer shows his strength, breaking 2 tackles and getting the ball in the end zone. My goodness.
Nearly identical drives, aside from the one run from Taylor on the third down conversion. Spencer loses the mouthpiece on the celebration, but that one was 8 plays, 68 yards down the field, and in these final 3 minutes of the first half, this game has completely changed.
Yeah.
The overall energy of this stadium has completely changed, and this is this rivalry on full display. All it takes is one play that can completely turn the tide for either side.
And a hot quarterback, and that's what we're seeing right now with Max Brosmer. I mean, he is in a rhythm. He's seeing everything, and he is delivering the ball on time and on target.
Send it deep. Weegin will let it sail. 21 seconds, 2 timeouts. Don't expect Iowa to do much here getting the football to start the second half, but Max Brosmer officially welcome to the Big Ten. 2 big touchdowns after throwing the interception in the first quarter. Look at his numbers, 165 yards through the air. I mean, Daniel Jackson himself has 93 yards, and Iowa as a team offensively has 62 total.
Yeah, Minnesota's defense has been stifling. Iowa's going to have to go in the locker room and try to figure out some ways to create some space. And it's got to be the run and the pass. They've got to get some chunk plays out of their passing game.
We'll see if Caleb Johnson can break one. That's a good start. Johnson to the outside and across the 45 out of bounds with 14 seconds left.
Well, now when you get that play, you just run that play to have a safe play to go to the locker room. But when Johnson turns it into a big play, now maybe you think, okay, 14 seconds, maybe we can try to throw the ball a couple times and maybe get ourselves in position for a field goal attempt.
Got 2 timeouts remaining. Weegin is in the game. He's dangerous with the ball in his hands. 14 seconds to work with. Approaching midfield after the gain of 21 for Johnson on the ground. McNamara got to work quickly here. Looking sideline. McNamara bobbled and incomplete for Weegin.
That's the throw they needed right there. I mean, that was very close. It was a good route concept against 2 deep safety with man underneath coverage. Just a little too far out for the receiver. Good decision and that close to being a big time play, and that would have put them in field goal range.
Still got enough time to do it here, and they don't have to get it out to the sideline with the 2 timeouts. Drew Stevens on the season, his long is 42, his career long is 54. Came back in 2022. McNamara goes to Lachey, and he's tackled immediately. Maybe gains half a yard. They'll mark him back at the line of scrimmage. And the clock stopped here with 1 here.
Yeah, I just don't know that that throw right there does anything for you other than burn your timeout and leave you with 1 play. Now, Minnesota was in a prevent defense with 3 deep defenders, but there were room between the deep defenders and the midline defenders to try to throw a deep in route there. Now you've just got 1 throw left to try to get it as close to the end zone as you can.
McNamara 7 for 13, efficient, but just not a lot of volume necessarily on his throw. 16 yards.
No chunk plays. No, and that's the difference. Minnesota has had some chunk plays in the passing game. Modest numbers running the football. Iowa has had no chunk plays throwing the football and, you know, modest numbers running the football.
3 back deep. Parrish, McMillan, and Brown. And they just hand it off. Johnson up the middle. And there's a whistle here.
Let's go to the half, guys.
Prior to the play, Minnesota called timeout.
Wow. So P.J. Fleck calls the timeout. His defense has certainly gotten to the quarterback.
Yeah, Cade McNamara has not been able to get in rhythm, and I think it's because of the pressure. And what I have seen and felt in this first half is that Minnesota felt like we're not afraid of their receivers to run by us, so we're going to play man, and we're going to bring extra rushers and collapse the pocket and not let Cade McNamara get comfortable or in rhythm or get his feet set. And that's the way it's been the first half.
Numbers brought to us by PFF, and the pressure rate from this Minnesota defense just turned up a notch. So far in 2024, passer rating allowed has been incredible, and that's a lot of the influence of Corey Heatherman coming in as defensive coordinator.
It's his personality, it's his influence, and I think it's his feel for this game that Iowa is not able to threaten them with their wide receivers to beat man-to-man.
Toss it, Johnson looking to chew up the yards himself. Johnson stays on his feet and then ushered out of bounds inside the 30, so he'll add to his tally and his FBS leading number. But Minnesota will go into the half up 14-7. Iowa does start with the football as we begin the 3rd quarter, but Minnesota with an excellent finish, a flurry in this 2nd quarter. Max Brosmer, the quarterback, finding a rhythm and leading his team to a halftime lead. We check in with KT.
Coach, a bit of a slow start for you guys, but what can you say about the maturity of Max Brosman and how he was able to lead this offense?
He's a very mature quarterback. He's got great poise. He processes at such a high level. He got into a really good rhythm there in the 2nd quarter.
Your defense has been outstanding, but we know that historically this matchup comes down to the final plays of the game. What do you need to do to sustain that pressure?
We got to take care of the football. We got to get takeaways, and we got to be able to score points, period.
All right, Coach, thanks so much. Noah?
Period. Thank you, KT. PJ Fleck has to be happy with the way his team played down the stretch there in the second. We'll check in with everybody in the studio. Minnesota up by a touchdown after 2. Get more with Geico. Time now for the Big Bulletin, brought to you by Genesis Motor America. Iowa will get the second half kick, down 14-7. Caleb Johnson does have 88 yards on the touchdown, but he had 2 rushes for 45 yards on that last drive. So realistically, you say the 43 yards before that really made up the bulk of what he did in the first half. Daniel Jackson was spectacular for Minnesota. 7 catches, 93 yards. Iowa as a whole receiving has 7 catches collectively for 16 yards. In the QB comparison, Max Brosmer really found something at the end of the second quarter, leading 2 touchdown drives, both through the air. McNamara's had a lot of pressure to deal with so far, and Iowa, it feels like, really needs to establish the run.
Well, they need to establish the run, but they also have to hit some passes for big yardage. And I think the best way for them to do that in the second half is going to be to throw some on first down, because it's really troublesome for them throwing on third down or second and long now against a lot of pressure from the Minnesota defense.
Short kick, Weegan from the 5. Weegan threw, hit across the 25 down to the 27 as we check in with KT.
Well, Noah, I just talked to Kirk Ferentz, and I asked him, what adjustments do you need to make defensively, having seen those 2 scoring drives from Minnesota to end the half? And he said, quite succinctly, we just have to play more sound defense. As for offensively, he said we need to start not on third and long, and we need to be better there. And guys, when we talked to him this week, he told us how his team was much better in the second half in last week's win against Troy. He's hoping for similar results here against Minnesota.
All right, KT, they did call offsides against Minnesota, the kicking team. So a couple extra yards after Weegan took it to the 27. This drive will start just in front of the 32. Let's see what Cade McNamara and this offense have in store. Caleb Johnson, the running back, and Gill, the motion man, on first down. Play action, bootleg, plenty of time, and the completion for Ostrenga. A big gain across midfield, and that's the exact start you were looking for, TB.
Exactly what you need to do. You've got to throw on early downs. They're going to bring Ostrenga across the formation. Sometimes he blocks. This time he passes up the block, and it's a little easy completion for Cade McNamara. He did not have easy completions in that first half. Under a lot of pressure, great way to get him started here in the third quarter. Throwing the football on early downs.
Goes for 20 yards on first down. Now Johnson looking to bounce it to the outside. He does. Down the sideline, Johnson walking the tightrope and then shoved out by by Lindenberg.
Well, we just saw Ostrenga make a great catch. Watch 87 and 85 block at the point of attack here. They catch and they block. And Johnson
after the
does
play
a nice
was
job.
over, personal foul, late hit out of bounds. It's number 45, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
So Cole Kneppel tells us it's on Lindenberg. Terry, what'd you see?
Yeah, the foot is clearly out of bounds when he makes contact low, well into the white. This is a good call for a late hit out of bounds.
This is a drive that Iowa desperately needs to capitalize on. We heard what Coach Ferentz said to KT. They got a perfect opportunity now, right off the jump, to get right back to a tie ball game.
Pitch it, Patterson, hit in the backfield. Lindenberg makes up for his mistake with a TFL.
Boy, did he run to the football. This was the backside linebacker. I mean, he's coming from over here and makes the play going this way. Watch the recognition, the speed to get to the backfield, and then a hard hit when he got there.
Goes back to his film study, his overall understanding of this defense. He's got that green dot on the back of his helmet. He felt that he needed to be an extra coach on the field or on the sideline. No matter where he was, he is always vocal with this team. 2nd and 10 to the air. McNamara loads it up, sideline. Oh, what an adjustment! Ostrenga down to the 1, first and goal.
Well, this is the difference between an offensive player who sees the football and a defensive player in Baranowski who does not. It's not a perfect throw, but Ostrenga has eyes on it the whole way, and Baranowski never knows it's thrown. Now, does he maintain control as he goes to the ground?
Terry, they're going to look at it. Is this a catch?
No, it's not. That last shot's very clear. He does not control the ball before he hits the ground. The ball hits the ground. It's clearly incomplete and should be reversed.
And what an individual effort by Ostrenga, but you see it right there as he's going to the ground to try to secure it. We asked Luke Lachey about his fellow tight end, and he said he just does everything right. He's such a hard worker. Anything the coaches ask from him, he does. But everyone wants to talk about his blocking. He's an excellent blocker. But his catching ability is almost underrated. And he does catch the football at a high clip. And when he does, he's always willing to fight for extra yards, always willing to anticipate and even initiate contact
After further
to go
review,
forward.
the ball hit the ground and it is an incomplete pass. It'll be 3rd down and 10 at the 15-yard line.
Yeah, the right call. Coach Kirk Ferentz doesn't love it, but the right call is made. And again, they did not throw on 1st down. They ran for short yardage. They threw on 2nd and long. It's incomplete, and now it's definite passing situation on 3rd down. Unless you're thinking maybe we can slip a run in here against pressure and maybe pop one. Corey Heatherman has been very aggressive, particularly on 3rd down, bringing pressure against Cade McNamara. Empty backfield to start.
Johnson off the left side of the line. 4 straight 100-yard games, including tonight, and they do hand it to him. Johnson using his blocking. Johnson finds the space. Touchdown! Caleb Johnson, takeover mode.
What an incredible block by Terrell Washington Jr. Watch this receiver come in motion and get a decleater at the point of attack. It's the same side run. So it looks like he's going to run to the right, but it's designed to cut back to the left. They caught him on 3rd down. Great call by Tim Lester. And an incredible block by the wide receiver, Terrell Washington Jr., to spring it.
Stevens, extra point, knots it up, 14 apiece. 5th career multi-touchdown game and the 2nd in a row after having 173 and 2 touchdowns a week ago. Johnson already up to 120 and 2 scores. Here tonight, we're all even on Big Ten Saturday night. Tomorrow night, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs take on Kirk Cousins and the Atlanta Falcons. Football Night in America begins at 7 p.m. Eastern on NBC and Peacock. Well, Kirk Cousins and the Falcons coming off that thrilling victory on Monday Night Football against the Eagles. Come from behind, and right now Iowa trying to do the same. Come from behind and reclaim this trophy in this rivalry game, their 2nd trophy game of the year. They've got 4 of them. Minnesota's 1st of 4 on the season. As Stevens sends it away, and this will be a knee from Coy Parrish.
I want to go back to this touch. And what a great play by Tim Lester call. Now watch, everybody, they are all going this way except for 3 guys. 1, 2, and 3. And they totally fool the Minnesota defense. Watch the whole defense flow to the right with the action and nothing on the backside. McNamara doesn't even need to block because everybody flowed with the play, and a huge block at the point of attack by Terrell Washington Jr. What a timely call and a well-executed play. You get that one time in a game. It was the perfect time to call it, and they tied the ball game with it.
Tim Lester, former head coach himself, and Kirk Ferentz says he thinks about the game all 3 facets: offense, defense, special teams. Major makes a man miss and then gets tripped up by Aaron Graves after a gain of 7.
Major is a good story. He's a really good number 2 back behind Darius Taylor. Came from Oklahoma. Played a few years there and was a productive back. Had a torn labrum and kind of missed some time. And when he came back from that, just didn't feel like he was really in the picture with Oklahoma. They had some younger backs, needed a fresh start, a clean start, and he's gotten it here in Minnesota.
Right back to Major, trying to push the pile, picks up one, dragged backward. Nick Jackson there to greet him with a bear hug.
This defensive front for Iowa, they're mostly two-gap. What I mean by that is they just kind of hold their position, and they kind of occupy blockers and occupy their space. They don't get upfield. They're not a real attacking defensive front, but they're rugged, they're big, they're physical, and they allow those linebackers to fly around and make plays. That's why they're so good on the run. Those four guys up front do their job.
Third down and 2. Handoff, Taylor, extra effort, going to be close, depends on the spot, and initially looks like he's about a half-yard short.
You see the power of Taylor, because Nick Jackson is going to meet him right at the line of scrimmage. And it did not look like he was going to get it, but he ran through the tackle of Nick Jackson. And now 4th and very short. Wouldn't be surprised to see maybe under center and a hard count and see if they can draw Iowa off sides.
Minnesota was the best in the nation last year on 4th down, and now on 4th and inches.
Timeout, Minnesota. First charge of the half. 30-second timeout.
I think they wanted to see how Iowa was going to line up on this 4th down and 1 play. May have had a quarterback sneak called. May not have been the right look. I think this is risky anyway going for it here. You just gave up a touchdown. Iowa's got a lot of momentum right now to start the 3rd quarter, and you don't want to give the Hawkeyes a short field if you don't convert.
Not to mention, you had to burn now a timeout.
Yeah.
11:07 to play in the 3rd quarter. And again, just to go back to what PJ Fleck told us yesterday, KT brought it up when they talked before the half. He said these games come down to 1 play normally.
Yeah.
1 or 2 plays in the 4th quarter. The last thing you want is to be short of timeouts. They will go for it on 4th and inches here. 2 for 2 on the season. They were excellent a year ago. Gears and Taylor in the backfield. Pitch it. Taylor slips.
No, I don't know.
It looks like he got it with a ball. They're going to be just in front of the sticks. A 1st down, and what an effort from Taylor.
Well, they thought they would fool the Iowa defense by tossing it, because Iowa was really pinched inside. But this is good defense, good discipline by these defenders at Iowa. But Darius Taylor again shows you the power. He breaks the tackle in the backfield by Harris and is able to fight for the 1st down. Harris had him for a loss of yardage, can't get him on the ground, and Darius Taylor gets the 1st.
So now 3 for 3 on 4th down on the season for the Gophers. Back to the air, Brosman. Look to tuck it, and he gets sacked. Nick Jackson, persistence to the quarterback.
Well, this is a little bit of the answer by Phil Parker. They did not get consistent pressure on Brosmer, particularly late in the 1st half. Now they bring linebacker pressure, and they collapse the pocket. We haven't seen that yet in the ball game. They make Brosmer uncomfortable, and they get the sack. He's trying to process, trying to read, but he doesn't have time. That's what it looked like for Cade McNamara most of the 1st half. Brosmer had a pretty clean pocket all 1st half.
There's Lindenberg on the Minnesota sack. Jackson on this Iowa sack. So the linebackers getting it done. Just a quick release, and another completion is going to go to Jackson across that initial line of scrimmage. Jackson nearing 100 yards, his 8th catch of the night.
And they brought Nick Jackson again, and that freed up the outside rusher Deontay Craig to force the quick throw. So a little change in philosophy here to start the 3rd quarter defensively for Iowa, recognizing that that quarterback got in too much of a rhythm, and we've got to try to make him more uncomfortable. We weren't able to make him uncomfortable with coverage changes. We've got to try to make him uncomfortable with pressure in the pocket.
Now it's a 3rd and 9. But Taylor out wide. Spencer in motion. Brosmer surveys. Brosmer unloads. Knocked away, incomplete. Higgins stuck with his man all the way through is Darius Taylor.
Yeah, and this is not an easy matchup for Higgins, right? Darius Taylor is a former wide receiver, and he does a great job, Higgins, of staying with him on the crossing route and getting a hand on the football. Ball might have been a little bit behind the intended receiver, but Higgins still with a big-time play against a faster athlete in Darius Taylor.
So this Iowa defense gets off the field. Crawford sends it away. Legion, fair catch called, fair catch made at the 26.5. A 36-yard punt flips the field, and we'll see if the Iowa offense can continue what they did to start the third.
Back at Minnesota, and time now for Big Shots, brought to you by Nissan. It's Caleb Johnson, and the thing he's doing better this year, he's running with better vision, and he's also running behind his pads with better power. And we see the combination. He's always had the speed, but now he's got the power and the vision and the patience. And for the fourth consecutive game in a row, Caleb Johnson has now gone over 100 yards.
He's also gone for the fourth consecutive game for 2+ touchdowns, which is the first time a Hawkeye's done that in a decade. Get it to him on the pitch here, and he's just wrapped up down low by Devin Williams.
Well, again, remember that last drive from Iowa. It started with the little easy throw on the bootleg play action on first down. And I still think that's got to be their formula, is throwing more on first down with little play action passes to try to keep this Minnesota defense off. Honest, they've been very difficult in third down situations, throwing the football for Iowa.
Second down run, Johnson up the middle and gets to the 30.
Part of the reason that Minnesota has played well on third down in past situations is they don't feel afraid of any of these Iowa receivers running by them or getting the ball thrown over their head. So they're committing more guys to the rush and putting more pressure on Cade McNamara. And if he does throw, he's going to have to throw underneath. Iowa has not put the threat of the deep ball into this Minnesota defense. So they're playing a lot of tight man-to-man and bringing pressure.
Iowa has averaged 7.5 yards to go on third down so far today. Empty set for McNamara. Pressure comes. McNamara floats and completes. It's the freshman Reese Vanderzee with a flag down.
There is a flag down at the point of the catch. It's an intentional underthrow to Vanderzee, who's a big receiver. He's 6'4", 210 pounds. He's a former high school quarterback. And you can see the jersey being grabbed.
Defense, number 24. That penalty is declined. The result of the play, 1st and 10, Iowa.
You know, Tim Lester told me when they played Iowa State, Vanderzee, they kind of manhandled him. They were physical with him. They roughed him up a little bit. And that's where he's had to grow and continue to get. He's got great ball skills, and he's really good at contested catches. That time he fought off the contact and made the nice throw on the contested ball.
Kirk Ferentz just loves this kid. His teammates gush about him and his ability and what it's going to look like in the future as he continues to mature. Nice run by Jazian Patterson as he'll pick up 9.
Well, this is a huge hole. Watch, Patterson's going to get through the right side, and he doesn't get touched till he's 3 or 4 yards into the secondary. That is a huge hole on the right side, and Patterson shows his physicality. He's not nearly as big as Caleb Johnson, but he's got kind of sneaky power and strength.
5'10", 195 pounds for the sophomore from Florida. And they'll give it right back to him for the first down. He dragged Jalen Logan Redding with him for an extra yard.
He was the guy at the end of the game last week, right? Had the long touchdown that kind of finally put Troy at a distance.
Troy hung around that game, and Kirk Ferentz said it was the first half that he wasn't as pleased with. He thought in the second half the team settled down. They got a pick 6 late to kind of give them some breathing room as well. And
another good opportunity for a first down throw here. Got the first down the run, show a run set, maybe play action here.
Instead they hand it Johnson. Stutter step move. Johnson breaks away. Caleb Johnson down the sideline. He's got his 3rd touchdown. Iowa, 40 yards on the house call.
Like I said, just give it to Caleb Johnson. Little different. This was not the zone. This was a counter play where they're pulling the backside guard and they're pulling the tight end. And they kick him out and they lead through, and Caleb Johnson does what he does best. Breaks some tackles at the line of scrimmage and then uses speed to outrun the defense. He is putting on a show right now.
Coleman Bryson had a chance to get him just before he could get to that goal line. Stevens makes it 21-14, and Johnson now up to 164 yards and 3 scores. Realistically, Minneapolis has become Caleb Johnson's domain. They're just paying him rent. 3 touchdowns and an Iowa lead here in the third. Greens, as Iowa has taken a lot of green grass and made it their friend in the last couple of drives. 2 drives in this third quarter, 2 touchdowns, both from Johnson. He's got 3 on the day, and the Hawkeyes now with a touchdown lead as Parrish will look to return this one just from about a yard inside that end zone, gets it to the 20, and Minnesota will start from there.
I want to go back to the 3rd touchdown by Caleb Johnson. Now, it's a great run by him, but there's 2 guys for this Minnesota defense that are unblocked and are in position and do not play this play very well. Number 4 is Zaquan Bryan. Number 16 is Coleman Bryson. And those 2 guys are playing a lot today because the guys in front of them did not play today. Justin Wally, normally the starting corner. He's been replaced by Bryan. Aiden Gooseby also out of starting safety. That's why we've seen Coleman Bryson a lot more in the ball game. And those 2 guys both got beat.
Wally, a big miss, has started 35 straight games before tonight. And Rosemer there just turns nothing into something, ends up gaining 3. But for Caleb Johnson, the big night continues.
He shows everything. You know, he shows speed, he shows power, he shows patience, he shows vision, he shows toughness. He is just a guy playing with a great amount of confidence right now. And when you have a guy like that as an offensive line, you know at any time he could bust one. And that just gives you a little more juice as well.
Last Hawkeye with 9+ touchdowns in a 4-game span to start the season. Tavian Banks back in '97 at 12. An incompletion will bring up 3rd down and 7 for this Minnesota offense that had such a beautiful rhythm in those final 2 drives of the second quarter. We know they're more than capable of it here, but again, this is an Iowa defense we're talking about.
Yeah, and Rosemer is not in that same rhythm coming out of the locker room in the 3rd quarter. That pass was behind his intended receiver. He was right on point, and ball placement was great in the first half, particularly the second quarter, and so far he hasn't recaptured that same rhythm.
Split Taylor out. Stewart in motion on 3rd down and 7. Rosemer zips. Stewart incomplete. That was a tight window with Sebastian Castro coming over, making a beat to the ball.
Yeah, Sebastian Castro, it's a zone defense. So here's Castro right here. He's not playing man here. He's reading the quarterback with eyes in the backfield. And when he sees the route concept, he comes up and makes a break on the football. That's good instincts, and that's good eye discipline. And that's what Phil Parker says is the key to their secondary being the way they expect, is eye discipline. That time, Castro had perfect eye discipline and almost got the pick.
Iowa's defense has still not allowed a 10-play drive this season. 3rd 3 and out for Minnesota, and a tough fair catch on the run by Weegin will start this drive from the 38-yard line. So excellent field position for an Iowa offense that's finding its rhythm. This perfect day, some earlier showers cleared up by game time, and has been as advertised ever since.
What a difference in first half to second half for the Hawkeyes. 107 yards of offense in the first half. Some of that garbage by Johnson's run at the end. 125 so far in the 3rd quarter.
Well, they're going to get it right back to him. Johnson, who has chewed up yards with every time he's had the ball, gains 3. We go to KT.
Yeah, and after last week's win over Troy, Caleb Johnson said, "One thing I've always had in mind is to be a top 5 running back in the nation." When I asked him about that quote this week, he said, "Even if I'm number 1 right now, I feel like I'm not, because this season just started with Big Ten matchups." No, more on that in a second.
As that one swung out to Hayden Large, the fullback. Go back to KT here.
He said he's thinking about his future, his dreams. He feels like this is what he's been chasing. He said, now I got to push myself harder, set myself to a higher standard, and not let all of this leading rushing yard stuff get to my head.
Well, he was leading the nation coming into the week by 20 yards. Ashton Genty over at Boise State was right behind him, and I'd say he's helped his case so far tonight. It seems like he's just so much more focused on the work and what's required out of him day in and day out, and we're seeing the results on the field. Leads to a 3rd down and 2 with Patterson in. Gill in motion. Handoff. Patterson finds it. 1st down.
Now, this is a really nice read by Patterson. Again, this is zone going to the left, but this play can cut back anywhere. He starts it to the left this way, but watch the cut back this way as he's reading the blocks and seeing where the seam is. Starts to the left and then sees a crease and bends it back to the other side. Goes off the block of his tackle and picks up the 1st down.
Patterson averaging 4.5 yards per carry so far today. This one goes on the end around. It's Jacob Gill on the sweep, and he'll pick up 9.5, just shy of the 1st down.
Well, you talk about being in a rhythm. Tim Lester is in a rhythm right now.
Yeah, he is.
I mean, ever since they came out of the locker room to start the 3rd quarter, some nice adjustments, some easy throws for Cade McNamara, some timely runs, a couple different wrinkle-type runs. That was a different wrinkle. We haven't seen that jet sweep, and it picked up positive yardage.
This is a big game for both of these teams, considering what they have coming up. But Iowa does have a bye week before they have Ohio State on the other side of that, as Patterson drags tacklers with him across the 35. This is a team that overall has just currently 2 ranked teams remaining on its schedule. And Nebraska is one of those who could fall out of the top 25 heading into next week. So for Kirk Ferentz, who has built up 10-win seasons, has built up winning program, has built up bowl eligibility, Big Ten championship appearances, it feels like the pieces are there if they can continue to do what they've done in this 2nd half. Still a lot of game to be played, and we know these trophy games can have some wacky moments. But Caleb Johnson, trying to make sure that doesn't happen, picks up 3 more.
Well, and I think what you're seeing right now here in the 3rd quarter is this Iowa offensive line that had a few problems in the 1st half is starting to kind of feel themselves a little bit. And they're getting good push off the ball, and a 4-yard run on 1st down is a win. And that's what they're getting more consistently here. And the combination of Johnson and Patterson running with some authority as well.
See those starts. It's the difference that these are mostly homegrown offensive linemen. McNamara on the run, just gets rid of it out of bounds.
Tried to go to the bootleg. They're 2 for 2 on the bootleg before this. I thought he was going to try to hit his receiver, number 15, coming on the crossing route. Vanderzee didn't think he had it and decided to throw it away. You know, he threw a bad interception against Iowa State on a bootleg, trying to throw back across the field. Really turned the game in that one. Lived to play 3rd down here. Let's see if Corey Heatherman brings pressure on this 3rd down play.
Iowa 3 for 3 on 3rd down, including that touchdown run to start this 3rd quarter from Johnson. That's what they are in this 3rd quarter, and they will run it again with Johnson. But this time he's tripped up across the 30 by Kerry Brown.
Field goal attempt here. Good stop by Minnesota. Iowa wants to come out of here with points. They've got momentum kind of swinging in their way in the ball game right now.
This is not a gimme. It's going to be a 46-yard attempt for Drew Stevens, a veteran now as a junior. Has not missed a kick, period, this year. 5 for 5 field goals and 10 for 10 extra points. This one 46 yards away. It's perfect. Plenty of leg, and Stevens extends the lead. So 3 drives, 3 offensive possessions, 3 scores for Iowa in this 3rd quarter.
When you think about Iowa football, you think about certain things. Their ability to run the ball, good offensive lines, rock solid defense, and dependable special teams.
Yes.
That's what they've had. They had the punt return last week, which was kind of an anomaly for them for the touchdown. but now 6 for 6 on field goals and a solid game today, punting the ball, covering kicks, all the way around, playing that complementary football.
Give Drew Stevens a ton of credit. This is a guy who really struggled at the end of last season. 5 for 10 kicking field goals in his last 6 games of the season. He had started 13 of 16 in the first 8. But he's somebody who's worked on his body, put 35 pounds of muscle on before last year to improve that range, and we just saw it there. Absolutely drills it from 46 yards out. Dependable is the perfect word. Stevens has done that, and looking to continue now with a kickoff. Parrish back. Parrish will take it out. And Parrish just runs into a wall again at the 20. Premier League Mornings Fan Fest is live from Chicago all weekend with a top-of-the-table clash as Man City takes on Arsenal. Tomorrow, 11:30 a.m. Eastern on USA. So 37 seconds left in this third quarter. Iowa has found itself, without a doubt. How does Minnesota respond?
Well, only 15 yards in this third quarter. They haven't seen the ball. They've not sustained a drive. But we've seen Max Brosmer get hot, right? And that's what they're going to need here. They're going to need him to find a rhythm again, get hot, and get some momentum swing back to the home team.
Play action on first down. Brosmer beams over the middle. It was short of Jackson and incomplete.
I think the ball was deflected. I think that's why it was short. He had Jackson, but I thought this ball might have gotten tipped a little bit at the line of scrimmage. See if anybody got a hand on it. Yep, sure did. Max Llewellyn, number 48, was in there, disrupted that throw.
Now second down and 10. Jackson, after 93 yards in the first half, just 6 yards here in this third quarter. Brosmer lofts, and a little bit too high and too far in front of Elijah Spencer. Sets up 3rd and 10.
What a difference in Iowa's ability to create pressure here in the second half. They were not able to make the quarterback uncomfortable in the first half, and Brosmer got comfy. He got in a rhythm. His eyes were working. He was throwing the ball on time and with accuracy. So far in the third quarter, it has not happened. 1 for 6, only 6 yards, and he does not look like the same guy. He looks a little bit skittish. He looks a little bit frazzled, and that's because Iowa has found a way to create pressure. It's been mainly with 4-man rush, but they've had more stunts and more action up front to collapse the pocket.
Play clock down to 2. Just get it off. Handoff. Taylor wrapped up. Stonewalled behind the line by Ethan Hurkett.
And that shows you that right now Greg Harbaugh doesn't know where his quarterback's at. I mean, you're down 10. It's 3rd down and long, and you decide to run a very safe, conservative play and punt the football. And Phil Parker's smiling. I mean, he knows right now the game has turned in his favor. The chess match has gone to the Grandmaster.
Ooh, Phil Parker showing some teeth. That's when you know things are starting to work on the Iowa side. The Floyd of Rosedale Trophy on the line, and the Hawkeyes trying to bring it back to Iowa City. Entering the fourth quarter up by 10 on Big Ten Saturday night. Aerial coverage brought to you by Ford. A beautiful night in Minneapolis. Final 15 minutes here from Huntington Bank Stadium. Crowd has been engaged from start to finish in this 118th meeting between these two teams for the Battle of the Floyd of Rosedale Trophy. Minnesota trying to keep it here at their facility, but Iowa with 17 unanswered points in that third quarter, getting the football back to start the fourth. And Weegin will look to return it. And gets it just about to midfield. Couple of players looking for flags, one for a block in the back, one for a late hit. Neither comes in. 42-yard punt, 8-yard return.
You know, it's interesting watching Iowa play offense right now with Tim Lester as the offensive coordinator. Again, he was a senior offensive analyst with the Packers last year. Good friends with Matt LaFleur. They were teammates at Western Michigan for a couple years. Part of that whole Shanahan coaching tree, and it's all based around running zone concepts. And he's got a guy behind running the football in Caleb Johnson that you can really build around. And Ironically, last year at Green Bay, Aaron Jones was the go-to guy, right? That's who they built it around. And interestingly enough, Aaron Jones plays here now in Minnesota. We're playing for the Vikings.
Well, Caleb Johnson might be playing at the next level very soon. Another chunk gain down the sideline, out of bounds and into the red zone for Iowa.
Again, it's just zone blocking. He can read this anywhere in here and pops it outside. Nice block coming in by the wide receiver. That time it was number 7 coming in there and getting a nice piece of the action. The other thing you see in this Tim Lester offense, a lot of bunch or condensed sets so that they can get their wide receivers and tight ends involved in the blocking schemes of the run game. It's almost like running goal line and short yardage plays with these condensed sets. See how close the wide receivers are to the football.
Johnson with a career high over 200 yards. Weegan with a tough catch, gets around the edge, and then tripped up from behind. That looked like it easily could have been a loss, and he turns it into a gain of 6.
Yeah, the ball kind of floated. Cade McNamara just kind of flipped it up in the air, and Anthony Smith, number 0, was very close to coming away with the football. He reads the play. Guess it wasn't as close as it looked in real time, but good concentration by Weegan. I mean, that's the way you run that play. It's just a little soft flip. It's not a handoff. And Weegan makes the most of it.
That's a heck of a play for Weegan. This is a guy who's from Williamsburg, Iowa, who went to community college and then transferred in. That's a hard-nosed run by Patterson as he'll get the first down. But for Weegan, this was something that we had talked about with some of the FCS guys. It took him a little bit of that grace period to get back into rhythm, feel like he truly belonged. But he said confidence was really never the issue, and his teammates really fueled that for him as Weegan goes to the side, and now Brendan Sullivan will check back in. Second time we see him today.
Yeah, he threw a little touchdown pass last week. It was just kind of a little flip, kind of like a shovel pass. He's athletic. He's got great feet. Transferred from Northwestern, and Tim Lester just wants to keep him on ready and keep him involved.
Sullivan down to the 5.
It's interesting. He said, you know, some people say, well, why don't you give him a drive? If you want to keep him involved, give him an offensive drive. He's like, I don't know when the best time to do that is. I mean, when do you do that? I mean, at what point in the game? I think it's better to use him in this kind of a situation. We get inside the 10. That's a package for him. He comes in. He knows that that's when he's going to be in the game. And they kind of build around that. And Cade McNamara has been very supportive of it. He and Brendan Sullivan are competitive, but they're good friends and share the same room in the quarterback room.
Large in motion. Patterson handoff. Patterson pushing. Waiting for the official signal.
Well, this game was very much a stalemate in the first half in the trenches. It doesn't feel that way anymore. It feels like on both sides of the ball, Iowa is seizing control in the trenches. This one's going to come up just short, I guess, but no reason to think they're not going to get in on this third down in less than a yard.
That's awfully close, but you see the ball looks like it's literally inches short. But they will look at it.
The ruling on the field is that the runner was short of the goal line. The previous play is under further review.
All right, Terry McCauley, we're keeping you nice and busy tonight, which is what we like because we like to hear your voice. So tell us what you saw on this play.
Thanks, Noah. I appreciate it. So far, I haven't seen anything completely indisputable to reverse this to a touchdown. The first body part I see down, it appears to be his left elbow. And really, we don't know exactly where the ball is when that elbow goes down. Like I said, I think this is going to stand. I just don't see enough to reverse right now.
It's always tough in those piles, but you do see that elbow go down and the ball is kind of in the humanity. Kirk Ferentz getting the explanation on one side. Patterson, who had a touchdown, his first of the season last week, looking to do the same here to help extend this even further in what has been, as Todd mentioned, a dominant physical second half by Iowa.
And I know that Kirk Ferentz traditionally is pretty conservative, but if I'm him, I'm thinking this is 2 downs here, you know, to get a touchdown and not worrying about kicking another field goal because you've seized control of the game in the trenches, and even if you don't make it less than a yard in 2 plays, you're putting them at 99.5 yards away against a defense that has held Minnesota to 14 yards of offense.
Ruling on the field of the runner short of the goal line stands.
So, official rule, exactly what we expected, and it'll bring up 3rd down and goal from the half-yard line, maybe the 1-inch line.
Yeah. And that timeout by the officials to take a look at that probably did a lot of good for the Minnesota defense. Got them to catch a breath, get a drink, and see if they can buckle down here on 3rd and 1.
Sullivan stays out there. Patterson as well. And they're going to push Sullivan across for the touchdown.
And it was less than 1. And I like the call of the quarterback sneak rather than taking the ball off the line of scrimmage and giving it to a back 4 or 5 yards deep. He's a big kid. He's a physical kid. 6'4", 220 pounds.
Timeout for an injured defensive player.
And great to see Cade McNamara coming right out to support his fellow quarterback.
Got the good tush push from behind. Another impressive drive by Iowa.
Meanwhile, and you see the support within that quarterback room from the veteran in Cade McNamara.
It's funny because Tim Lester was saying, during camp, Sullivan looked great. I mean, he looked better at times than Cade McNamara. And then he realized, well, you know what? Cade's got to go against our #1 defense all the time.
Right.
So at a certain point, he switched it, and he put Sullivan going against the first-team defense, and he realized it was a little different.
Yeah.
These guys are pretty good over here. And all of a sudden, Cade started having the upper hand in training camp.
Meanwhile, this is Eli Mao, who is down for this Minnesota defense. We asked Cade McNamara about going up against that defense every day in practice, and he said it gives us this mindset that that's the hardest we're going to see.
Yeah.
That everything else should feel easier than what we see every day in practice. And it's hard to argue that. You look at the track record this defense has. Good to see Eli Mao back on his feet, walking back toward the sideline. The track record this defense has, the veteran status this defense has, the statistics they've put up. To have to face that, the whole idea of iron sharpens iron, it's almost taken to a different level with that group.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you look at Iowa's schedule, the only defense that they will face that will be anywhere as good as theirs or maybe even a tick better is Ohio State, who they play in 2 weeks in Columbus. That defense is legit as well.
Slow start for Ohio State today, but eventually just ran away with that game and did it on the ground themselves. Drew Stevens makes it 31-14. Caleb Johnson, career high 206 yards, 3 touchdowns, set this one up. It's Sullivan getting it done on the ground. Iowa in full control in this second half. Go look at the United Camp here from Minneapolis, where Iowa has taken full control of this game. It was 14-7 Minnesota at the half. 24 unanswered points they have scored on all 4 drives, the Hawkeyes. And the student section's still here, ready to support. We'll see if Minnesota can find something. We know that trophy games can provide fireworks, including the matchup between these two last year was a 12-10 Gopher win. Stevens boots it. Parrish has taken the last few out and is forced to do the same here. And Parrish spins away down to the 19.
Well, the first half, Minnesota won the line of scrimmage. Not the case in the second half. We've seen the offensive line, but how about the defensive line? They have made life completely uncomfortable for Max Brosmer. A lot of 5-man pressure, some stunts. He has not been in rhythm, and then they've been right on the point when it comes to stopping the run. The defensive front of Iowa has controlled the line of scrimmage here in the second half, and it's a different football game because of that.
10-yard difference in the average starting field position between these two teams. Rosemer outside, and the catch by Spencer for 8.
Right now, Iowa, with the lead that they have, they're not going to play prevent, but they're not going to gamble. I mean, they're going to force Minnesota to execute all the way down the field and throw the ball underneath.
Second down and 2. Pitch it. Taylor with a tough catch. And it looks like he's going to be a half-yard shy. It'll be 3rd and inches. For Darius Taylor, coming into the season a lot healthier than he was for most of last season. Really worked on his body, learned how to take care of himself, worked a lot in the weight room. Grew overall as a player and as a pass catcher, but 10 rushes and 34 yards. This Iowa defense has had him under wraps.
They sure have. And I think if Minnesota converts here, I think they've got to get a little bit more of a up-tempo offense. I mean, they're 3 scores behind right now, and the clock is under 10 minutes. I don't know if they can continue to just huddle and take their time being 3 scores down.
Remember, they had to burn that early timeout in the 3rd quarter. So just the 2 timeouts remaining, and still methodical in how they're moving offensively. Rosemer, 19 of 33, 179 yards, 2 touchdowns, the early interception that led to the first Caleb Johnson touchdown in the 1st quarter. Bierman in motion. Rosemer back to the air for Taylor.
See, Iowa is perfectly content to give up those plays right there. It's a short completion. The ball carrier's tackled inbounds. And here we go. Now a little no huddle by Minnesota, feeling a little bit more urgency here with under 9 minutes, or right around 9 minutes left in the ball game.
Second down and 8. Rosemer.
Good timing.
Caught on the outside by Brockington.
Yeah, this is really good timing by Rosemer. He had a clean pocket, and he throws this when the receiver is still coming out of his break. I mean, that's well done. Probably the best ball Rosemer's thrown here in the 2nd half.
Approaching Iowa territory. Taylor stays in. Rosemer delivers wide open. It's Jackson, who is now tied a career high with 9 catches and is over 100 yards.
Even though Iowa has a 17-point lead, now that the ball is across the 50, I wouldn't be surprised to see Phil Parker try to bring another 5-man pressure, try to heat up the pocket a little bit. They've given up some throws here. Rosemer made a couple nice throws in a row. Looks like he has his confidence.
Rosemer, middle, tipped, picked, taken away, Quinn Schulte. Schulte on the ricochet across the 40.
Well, it's Nick Jackson who makes the play. Nick Jackson just kind of lurking in the middle as the middle linebacker jumps on the coverage, knocks the ball up in the air, and Schulte, the quarterback of the defense, collects it for the interception.
Well, Todd, it's time now for the upcoming schedule presented by Discover, and we weren't sure exactly what everything was going to look like until everything got sorted out today, but we have gotten official word that these are the 3 featured games that we have on NBC and Peacock. First, 3:30 Eastern on Peacock, Louisville and Notre Dame in a top 20 clash. Then 7:30 Eastern on Peacock, Ohio State, number 3 in the nation, Michigan State. But it all leads to what is likely going to be a top 20, at minimum a top 25 showdown at homecoming at Penn State, as Illinois coming off the huge win last night. 7:30 p.m. Big Ten Saturday night on NBC.
Yeah, and you got to say Illinois and Indiana probably the 2 biggest surprise teams in the Big Ten right now. Huge win for the Illini in Lincoln.
Patterson spills forward for 4. Brett Bielema deserves a ton of credit for the job he's done the last couple of years. Penn State has just kind of rolled on business as usual through these first couple of weeks. Survived an early scare week 2, but they've looked strong, and Drew Aller looking more comfortable in that starting quarterback role.
Yeah, and the running backs, the defense, I mean, they had a good test against West Virginia. Then they had a couple games they were supposed to win the way they did. And now this will be a good test. The Illini coming in. Luke Altmaier playing as good as any quarterback in the Big Ten right now.
What a year it's been for him taking care of the football. Meanwhile, for Iowa, the 2 interceptions, that is something that P.J. Fleck harps on. That turnover battle has to be major plus for his team as McNamara dumps it off for Hayden Large, who gets suplexed down after a gain of 3.
You know, the reason this bootleg is so effective is because a lot of times they bring that tight end in motion and he blocks the end man on the line to run the zone play. Well, now when you run the bootleg, you just kind of slip him out past that guy, and he's always open because he's usually blocking coming across. You slip him out, you get him the ball quick. It's a nice little change-up play to the zone run scheme.
By the way, the neck pad, a lost art in football. 3rd down and 3. Handoff, Patterson, and he's down after a yard, so to the 49 as Darius Green lost his helmet. And Green is still down after the play. So we'll check on him with 6:21 to play. Fans have started to head towards the exits here. Iowa on the brink, 6:21 away from taking back the Floyd of Rosedale Trophy here on NBC. Always a good sign to see players walking off on their own power. Darius Green, redshirt junior from Georgia. Got popped.
Darius Green not backing off on this play in a major collision in the hole with Patterson.
For Green, he actually missed the first 2 games of the season with an injury, so just made his return last week, playing some good football, had 3 tackles, a sack a week ago in the win against Nevada. This is the 4th straight home game to begin this season. Minnesota heads on the road after this to Michigan, a team that just had the biggest win of their season today against USC, who's the following opponent for this Minnesota roster.
Yeah, that was an impressive win by Michigan. Alex Orji with his first start.
Contact and the flag after the kick as it's brought in. Dakin put to the deck. Looked like running into the kicker. Dakin flexing.
Yeah, he actually tried to hold
into
up.
the kicker. Receiving team number 17. That 5-yard penalty will result in a 1st down.
He did. Oh, Dakin sold it.
He's trying to hold him
sold
up
it.
like, okay, I'm not going to hit you. I'll help you stand up. And Dakin said, no, I'm going to flop. But it was a bad angle anyway by Joyner, number 17.
So Dakin does get the benefit of the doubt there. And Joyner with a 5-yard penalty. How about?
That's one of those things like with the special teams guys, they're all celebrating, high-fiving. You know, the snappers and the holders and the kickers, they're all in their own little world, you know.
Again, I'm going to say it.
I've always felt like kickers and all those specialists, they should have a bullpen for them. Keep them away from the rest of the players because they're not normal football players. Keep them, and when you need them, just call the bullpen, have them come out.
It is one of my favorite Todd Blackledge theories overall, and spoken like a true quarterback. I'll say it for the 2nd time tonight. I also will say this. We go back to the penalty thing for Iowa. Least penalized team in the country. 0 penalties last week. 1 penalty here tonight. That's winning football.
Is winning football. You know, you play complementary football, offense, defense, special teams. You don't turn it over, and you don't have penalties. You're going to win a lot of football games. You win the turnover margin. You don't get penalized. You can run the football and stop the run. That's 9 or 10 wins every year doing that.
That's what they've done. Kirk Ferentz is nearing 200 victories in his Iowa career. He's actually nearing the Big Ten all-time record as Patterson dives forward. He's the winningest coach in school history in his 26th season, longest tenured active FBS coach. He's 7 wins away from Woody Hayes all-time in Big Ten lore. And you talk to anybody who's been a part of this program, and there's one guy in particular who's on his staff, a special teams coordinator LeVar Woods, and I asked him about playing for Kirk Ferentz year one as a head coach, then coaching with him and seeing the development. He said it's just a continuation. He said the exact messages that he was giving us year one as the head coach are the same messages he's giving year 26.
Yeah, I think it's such a unique program. First of all, you just don't see coaches stay in one place that long anymore, right? I mean, it's a dying breed. But I think the term and the terminology, P.J. Fleck had the perfect terminology, cultural sustainability. I mean, he looks at Iowa and he says that's what they have. I mean, they've maintained their culture, their standard for a long time, and success has gone with that. You know, obviously P.J. wants to do the same thing at Minnesota, but you have to kind of marvel at what Kirk's been able to do. Last couple years, a lot of heat with their offense, one of the worst in college football. His son, Brian, the coordinator. I mean, you know that was a hard thing for that man to go through, dealing with all the criticism of his son. Then he had to make a change. I give him a lot of credit for just how he has stood tall through all of that.
Patterson up the middle, pick up 2.5. This is a schedule that some would call favorable. Luke Lachey actually echoed a lot of what you said about the program aspect of what Kirk Ferentz has built. But the bye week next week at number 3 Ohio State. Yeah. And the only other ranked team on the schedule right now is Nebraska, who will likely fall out of the top 25 with a loss last night. You look at what they've got in front. If they can play the way they did in the second half, the offense can hum at the level we've seen it's capable of humming, and defense plays just the Iowa defense that we're accustomed to seeing, there's no reason they can't go out and win 10 games again.
Yeah. You know, there are no more divisions in the Big Ten, so there's no Western Division champion. It's just the 2 highest ranked teams, best teams in the league playing for the Big Ten championship. But there are 12 teams going to make the college football playoff this year. And if this Iowa team can find a way to win 10 games, they're going to be in position to be considered for one of those spots.
Approaching the 2-minute timeout here in the 4th quarter. Kirk Ferentz on the brink of getting to 3-1.
I think because that loss to Iowa State was so painful that they have to play well against Ohio State regardless. Even if they don't win in Columbus, they have to be competitive in that game and play well. And if they win the rest of them, you never know. They might get in. They might find a way in.
It'll be a 3rd and 4 with 2 minutes remaining when we return. The Floyd of Rosedale Trophy had been in Iowa's grasp for years. Looks like it's heading back to Iowa City in these last 2 minutes. There is a look at the beautiful 98-pound bronze pig, 21 inches long, 15.5 inches high. 18 of the last 23 years, it's belonged to Iowa, and they are in prime position to take it back to Iowa City.
It's a little bigger pig than the one we saw our buddy Matt Castle wrestling around with today.
Matt's got experience, man.
Those were piglets that he was lifting up over his head.
Sullivan in there for this 3rd down, hands it off. Patterson loses a yard. Kerry Brown with a blitz there.
I like this with Minnesota. I mean, they've gotten manhandled here in the second half. But look at their defense. They're still holding up the fist, meaning they forced him to 4th down. No quitting this team. It's a team that went 6-7 last year after back-to-back 9-4 seasons. They still got to a bowl game and won a bowl game for the 5th time under P.J. Fleck. But this team's a better team than they were a year ago. And this is just, they just ran into a buzzsaw here in the second half in the Iowa football team.
Now Iowa will run it. Sullivan is just going to lose his footing and turn it over with 1:12 remaining. It's an excellent point for Minnesota. All that experience they got last year, and the main thing that P.J. Fleck said to describe it was, these guys got their butt kicked.
Yeah.
And when you get your butt kicked, you want to remember the feeling because you never want to feel it again. And it does motivate you to go out to work harder. And this is a team that, and both teams, again, should feel like they should be 3-0 right now. But certainly this Minnesota team was in position to win that game. They have a veteran kicker who is one of the better kickers in the country, who misses a field goal to win it at the end. And just by the slimmest of margins, they come in at 2-1. And now here you are sitting at 2-2 with a difficult stretch of games coming up. It's a team that's got veterans, they've got experience, and they've got a leader who instills that energy in the group as Nubin takes this for 4.
And Max Brosmer will learn from this. We probably may not see him throw again. You know, we might on third down, but PJ's pretty much conceding this one with under a minute. But Max Brosmer he'll grow from this. He'll improve from this. And he knew coming in, this is the best defense that he will have faced as a college quarterback. It was a big game, an important game, a packed house, a trophy game. And there were moments and times in this game where he was the best player on the field.
That stretch at the end of the second quarter, back-to-back touchdown drives, 2 touchdowns thrown by Brosmer. As this one will be taken a yard shy of the first down marker. Iowa starts making their way onto the field, and the Floyd of Rosedale trophy, that beautiful 98-pound bronze pig, is heading back home to Iowa City. It's the Hawkeyes, dominant in the second half, winning 31-14 in this 118th meeting. Kirk Ferentz tied for second, 199 wins as the head coach at Iowa in that Big Ten. And now standing by with KT.
Yeah, Noah, thank you, Coach. Trying to sneak off the field without doing the interview. I know. How important was
personal.
I get it. Talk about this Floyd Trophy coming home to Iowa and the way you were able to win this game in the second half.
Just, really proud of our guys. Obviously, we didn't finish the first half very well. So, guys, the answer to the bell. Great response. Defense played great. Offense got it going. Still got to develop a passing game, but we'll get there.
What specifically did you adjust at the half? Because you came out looking like a different team.
Yeah, I think the offensive staff did a good job making a few tweaks. These guys threw everything in the book at us defensively. And then defense, we just knuckled down a little bit.
And then speaking of the offense, Caleb Johnson with another outstanding night, 3 touchdowns, a career high in rushing yards. What can you say about what he provides this offense with?
He's just been so focused this whole year. So it's been fun to watch him learn a little bit about himself. He's a heck of a player, great kid.
Coach, thanks so much. Get in that locker.
Thanks,
All right, KT, Kirk Ferentz, always gracious, always proud of the ability that his team has to continue to move it forward, and it's always a great moment. I mean, you played trophy games. You know what these mean. And look at this, the collective group coming together and feeling this level of jubilation.
Yeah, it's a good win for Iowa. You come on the road, it's a packed house. The game's not really going your favor in the first half, and just as Coach told KT, I mean, the adjustments that were made at halftime, the different kind of resolve of this football team to take over the game in the trenches was impressive.
You can look at a couple of guys who stood out, but there was one real star of this game, Caleb Johnson, standing with Catherine Tappan.
Yeah, and there's no question with his teammates what he did tonight. Caleb, congratulations on the victory and getting the Floyd Trophy back. What does this moment mean to you and your teammates?
This means a lot, man. We've been working since day one to beat them, bro. Last year we lost to them, so we took this very personal, especially me. So I was out for a little bit last year because of that, so I just really took it personal and put my team on my back, and I won. So that's it.
That's it. You said last week you want to be a top 5 running back in the country. You had a career high in rushing yards. You had 3 touchdowns in this game. What was working so well for you on the offense?
My O-line, man. Everybody blocking. I love my O-line, bro. They do everything to help me score. So I didn't even score. They scored. So I just really give credit to all my O-line, man. I love them boys. So now it's on Ohio State. So
it is, and you get a bye week in between. So what will you guys work on with this offense in order to prepare for Ohio State?
Just the little things we messed up today because, today wasn't perfect. We still got the win, but today wasn't perfect. We still got to get out there and finish the season and, give it our all. So that's what I'm working on now. So I'm going to enjoy this little moment. Now I'm focused on Ohio State. So
Caleb, go enjoy this moment with your teammates. Thank you.
Thank you.
21 carries, 206 yards, 3 touchdowns. He was absolutely dominant at times in this game and still the leading rusher in all of college football.
Yeah, and he showed an array of skills and talents. I think Kirk Ferentz talked about it. He's just been so focused. So when he needed to run with speed outside, he did. We needed to run with power, he did. And he just showed patience and poise all night.
Jay Higgins, one of the emotional and physical leaders of this defense, had the interception early in this game, and he's also downstairs with KT.
Yeah, Noah, thank you very much. Jay, congratulations on the victory, getting the Floyd Trophy back to Iowa. But talk to me about early in this game, the interception for you and setting the tone early for this Iowa defense. What does that mean to you guys when you're able to do that early in a game?
Yeah, we were just excited to start fast. Obviously watching it on tape, Coach Wallace, Coach Parker put me in the right position. Happy I was able to, make a smart play, and then obviously got in the end zone soon after. So, you know, just a big momentum push for us.
And the momentum looked like it was on Minnesota's side going into the locker room at the half. They had those 2 scoring drives. What did you guys talk about defensively in that locker room to come out looking like a different team?
Yeah, we just told the guys to keep playing. We knew it was going to be a long game. I mean, we're on the road, Big Ten opponent. So we knew the game wasn't going to be over in the first half. And I feel like the guys did a great job coming back and responding.
Jay, congratulations. Enjoy the celebration of the Floyd.
Thank you.
Okay.
TB, it does feel massive that this team has the bye week before Ohio
yeah,
State.
really big. I mean, you know, that will be the toughest test on their schedule. Ohio State is a national championship caliber team in Columbus. It's going to take an A game from Iowa, but they've got an extra week to get ready for it.
Caleb Johnson and this Iowa offense. Yeah, they might hate you because they ain't you. And whatever fair catch did or did not happen last year was avenged by the Hawkeyes this season. Iowa, with a dominant second half, wins at 31-14 and moves on to 3-1 on the season. Coming up next, except on the West Coast, it's your local news tomorrow night. Don't miss the Chiefs and the Falcons on Sunday Night Football. Next Saturday, Louisville heads to Notre Dame. Ohio State takes on Michigan State exclusively on Peacock, and we're heading to Happy Valley for Illinois and Penn State at homecoming. For Catherine Tappan, Todd Blackledge, Tara McCauley, producer Matt Marvin, and our wonderful director, Jenny Glazer, our entire crew, I'm Noah Eagle, saying so long from Minneapolis, where Iowa reclaims the Floyd.